Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's edition of the Sunday Wire. I'm Patrick Henningsen, your host. We're streaming out live on X, Rumble, YouTube, also Facebook Live, BitChute Live, as well as on the audio streams and alternatecurrentradio.com, also at 21stcenturywire.com. You can catch us after the program on all the main podcasting networks, including Spotify, and all the other leading audio platforms, iTunes, and others. It's great to have you with us. Important conversation today. We'll be breaking down really, I think, the biggest story right now that landed this weekend, as they tend to do, which is why we tend to catch them on the Sunday Wire. But the biggest story that's landed, which we'll break down, you'll know by the title and the graphic of the program. We'll talk more about that in a moment. But then after the opening segment, we'll take a break and go, as we normally do, into the Overdrive segment. And hopefully we'll be joined by some of our teammates from alternatecurrentradio.com. I believe Hesher, Ruckus, possibly Basil Valentine might make an appearance, as well as we sort of go through some of this earth-shattering, earth-changing news, potentially. We'll see. We'll see how it shakes out, plus a few other items which we'll cover, and we'll also have a chance to review some of the comments from some of our listeners, or the people who are on the line right now on the live stream. Thank you guys for your engagement, especially on Rumble and also on YouTube. We'll be looking at your input, and we'll be featuring some of the best comments on screen, as well as interacting with the audience there. So we're very much looking forward to that. So let's get to business now. And again, I want to thank everybody who has been very active over the last couple of weeks supporting 21st Century Wire. We've had a flood after the winter fundraising drive. We've had a flood of donations, also people subscribing to 21wire.tv. There's some new members content up this weekend. If you haven't looked yet, go to 21wire.tv. If you have a membership, you'll be able to watch it. A very special video, which I recorded near the top of 5,000 plus foot mountain in the Superstition Range. It was a tough climb. Anyway, had a really good discussion up there on geopolitics. And if you're a member, if you subscribe to 21wire.tv, you'll be able to see that right now. So go ahead, you guys. And if you want to get involved, if you want to join the family, as it were, just go to our website, hit the donate button there at the top, donate now, support us, and you can subscribe and become a member at 21wire.tv. That's one way you can support us for very little, just above $5 a month, roughly, and you can support us on a monthly basis. So we really appreciate you guys who've come on board to help support this independent media platform. It's your support every month that allows us to do what we've been doing. And as we said during the winter fundraising drive, we're expanding our programming, and the team we have we're building out is working really hard. You can see some of the investigative reports on our website, which are coming up daily, as well as the videos that we're releasing every day. So that's all because of your help, because of your support. So we're really pushing hard on the content front, producing some of these new things that we've got out there. So again, that's because of your support. So thank you so much, everybody who has been helping us there. And if you want to get involved, now is the time. There's a lot of work to do, as you know, based on what's going on in the world. Now let's get to the task at hand here. We're going to be shifting gears a little bit. We're just going to move over to look at our Sunday screening. If you go up to 21stcenturywire.com, you'll know we curate a documentary film every week for our audiences. This one is A Blood, Sweat, and Sugar. 2026, relatively new, short documentary, excellent. This is from the documentary team at Al Jazeera English. They produce really great films. We highlight this one just to change the gears a little bit this weekend, because we've been very heavy on the geopolitics and the Middle East, but this is equally as important, and you can see how this ties together. When we talk about lobbies in Washington, the sugar lobby is massive. It's one of the most powerful lobbies in not just Washington, but also in the EU and Brussels as well. And the reason, well, watch this documentary. And this, we're not even getting into the health effects of sugar and the sort of mass production of it, mass distribution, how it's made its way into our diets. I mean, that side of things, that's just a whole nother potential series of films. There are some good films out there on this, but Blood, Sweat, and Sugar up at 21st Century Wire. That's the Sunday screen this week. Thank you very much to our team for curating another excellent film for our audience. Really appreciate it. So to the task at hand, the theme of today's show is, well, it kind of writes itself, doesn't it? And I know a lot of you are not surprised at where we are. By way of deception, thou shalt wage war. That is the motto of Mossad, as we've said previously on a number of interviews recently. And I've been saying this for like the last month, and I see other people are kind of catching on to this talking point, which is that the United States has adopted Israeli tactics in rhetoric, in negotiation tactics, and in warfare. And it's a brutal, kind of violent, unforgiving, medieval sort of style of waging war, deception, mounting fake negotiations in order to create cover for a sneak attack. That's basically the Israeli playbook. Donald Trump has more or less adopted chapter and verse every single aspect of this. And also the sort of disregard for human life, engaging in targeting densely populated areas, mass civilian casualties, not apologizing about it, thumbing your nose at human rights, all of these sort of things, treating Arabs as they're sort of subhuman. The United States is now engaged in this more openly. It's not that they haven't been before, of course, but the U.S. used to wrap it in a veneer of respect for international institutions, international law. They tried really hard, almost to obsessively, to appear to be working within the framework of international law. And even under Bush and Cheney during the neocon era, they still managed to try to put a facade on it. Now, under the Trump administration, they've adopted Israeli tactics. Israeli tactics are, no, we're just going to go full scorched earth. We're going to kill who we want. We'll steal what we want. And don't apologize, double down, deny everything, lie, and invert reality. That's the Israeli playbook. And the United States, under Donald Trump, has adopted it. So it's hard to tell the difference between these two countries now, in their words and in their deeds. And that's where we're at. So by way of deception, so this is really the latest deception here, which we're going to explain to you, that everything you've seen over the last week is just typical. And I know many of you are already hip to this already, but this whole, ceasefires, negotiations, it's a joke. It's not serious. And I said initially when the ceasefire is announced that I said on a number of interviews, I said it's more likely that the U.S. is buying time. Israel's buying time here. They're colluding behind the scenes, pretending to be these two will pretend to be separate entities. Donald Trump, when this ceasefire is announced, Israel's going to stop bombing Lebanon. Enough. He put out some stupid tweet. And of course, what does Israel do? They just continue blowing stuff up. But because Trump said Israel stopped, then, people who follow Trump and believe Fox, they'll say, look, Trump restrained Israel. Trump stopped Netanyahu from slaughtering more Christians in the Holy Land, in Lebanon, and killing Muslims in Lebanon, bombing neighborhoods in Beirut indiscriminately. Look, Donald Trump, he's got control over Netanyahu. No, Trump stopped nothing. That was all theater. That was to make the public believe that these are two separate actors, when in reality, what you're dealing with here is a two-headed beast. A two-headed beast. And that's the reality of the situation with these two rogue actors, these two rogue states. So the whole ceasefire thing, the negotiations, it's deception. It's deception. They needed time to reload. They needed time to rearm and to collect and sort of prepare for another round of violence. And this one is shaping up to be quite severe. We'll see. We'll see. But if we look at how this is progressing, we'll just take a further look here. Well, this is when you see stories like this. Trump says Iran talks will resume, threatens power plants and bridges if no deal. So what he's saying there, and this is the sort of most preposterous, this is the Washington Post here, just this morning actually. But this is the most preposterous part about it, is that it's, first of all, it's hard to keep up with the flip-flops and the lies, and that's intentional. Trump's created a kind of media chaos environment that he is sort of the maestro of, and he's constantly changing his mind, constantly moving the goalposts. You can't negotiate with the United States. You can't. They moved in Islamabad last week. They moved the goalpost multiple times. They issued, it's not negotiations. They just look at your proposal and say, we don't like that. You need to do this, this, and this. If you don't, we're leaving and we're going to kill you. And we're going to take out your leadership and destroy your infrastructure. That's negotiations with the U.S. I mean, it's easier to negotiate with Hitler, quite frankly. So, and the lying is so rapid with Trump that it's impossible to keep up. And you've got these propagandists like on Fox that are this is another level. This is another level of sort of Goebbels-esque inversion of reality. Remember with these people, okay, with the Israelis and with the Trump administration, with the United States, in its current iteration, we hope it's not going to last forever. If it lasts much longer, there will be no more United States, probably, for all intents and purposes. But every accusation that they hurl at their target is actually a confession. So their habit, their function is to accuse others of the thing that they themselves are doing, and they do it constantly. And Fox and U.S. media basically facilitate this because they also repeat this script. So I'm pretty sure this is being churned out by the Israeli lobby or the PR company that works for them, and they distribute talking points to politicians and media anchors in the United States, because it's pretty much verbatim across the board. They've all got their talking points. It's not journalism at all. So it makes diplomacy impossible, first of all the flip-flopping, the changing, the, reneging on your previous commitments. And it's amazing how they sort of engineered this one here. And the United States is saying that, Iran needs to, agree to this. It's a very simple deal. All they need to do is sign. It's a good thing to show they're willing to engage in a good faith agreement. I mean, the U.S. is telling Iran about a good faith agreement. The same United States that twice, just with Iran, I'm not talking about all the other negotiations with Hezbollah, Hamas, Soleimani, and Russia, Ukraine. Put that off to the side. But just twice already in the last 12 months, they've deceived Iran, pretending to be conducting high-level negotiations, and used that to attack them and to kill their head of state. And they did it to Venezuela as well. They were negotiating with Venezuela, and then they came in and kidnapped Maduro and stole all their oil. So it's good faith. I mean, seriously, give us a break at this point. So it's going to be war. Here's Mohammed Marandi here. And U.S. military is preparing to board ships linked to Iran in the coming days. So the U.S. is going to flood the area with naval assets. They're going to try to board boats who they believe are, quote, linked to Iran. This is going to be a complete mess. Okay. And Marandi here from Tehran, Dr. Mohammed Marandi, saying Iran can seize or destroy all ships in the Persian Gulf and permanently close the Straits of Hormuz until the Trump regime comes to its senses. That might be never, in fact. Meanwhile, the global economic depression is approaching. That's true. That's true. So what Trump did is a classic straw man. He accused the Iranians of breaking the ceasefire. This is an Israeli tactic as well. The United States never had an agreement because the United States never fulfilled their end of the agreement. The United States, while the straits are closed, the United States have moved their naval assets to the southern, to block ports, access to Iranian ports in the southern coast of Iran. This is outside of the straits, okay? And they were supposed to stop doing that. That's an act of war, to blockade a country, like what the U.S. is doing in Cuba, what they did in Venezuela. That's illegal, massively illegal under international law. It's an act of war. And so the Iranians said, well, you know, we've opened the straits. How come you're still blocking our ports? And Trump said, well, we'll unblock your ports when we feel that you've fulfilled your end of the deal. Well, they already did. But Trump didn't want to lose his leverage. So he moved the goalposts. So he lied. And this is just normal. And then he blamed the Iranians for breaking the ceasefire when they just switched it back and said, right, no more shipping through the straits. You're going to block our ports, they say to the U.S. And Iran says, fine, we're going to close the straits again. And when they close the straits, everyone pretends like Iran reneged on a deal. I mean, it's so dishonest and so deceptive. But that's what you're dealing with. You know, you're dealing with the United States of Israel at this point. And here is geopolitical scholar Robert Pape here. The U.S. is preparing a major escalation, engaging U.S. troops directly with ships with Iran's oil for the first time. We are at a fork in the road. Either the U.S. backs down and Iran emerges as the force center of world power in the near term, or escalation to prevent that from happening. Trump is heading to escalation. So we're heading to war. So I was right when the ceasefire was announced that this was just a ruse, and these people are not serious. I'm talking about the Trump administration. They're not serious about peace or, you know, coming to some kind of a settlement or anything like that. So here's Trump himself. I mean, basically admitting, you know, that, you know, he's going to attack. Basically, here is the president of the United States.
By Wednesday, when the ceasefire ends, will you extend the ceasefire, or will you start attacks again?
Maybe I won't extend it.
Okay.
But the blockade is going to remain. But maybe I won't extend it. So you have a blockade, and unfortunately, we'll have to start dropping bombs again. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. I think it's going to happen. Thank you.
So he just admitted what I just told you, is that the blockade remains. So that the U.S. was never serious about any deal. So what you have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, is this is the Israeli negotiation tactic, which is to insist on certain terms and doing things that are automatically going to be deal breakers for the other side, for the counterparty. And then when the other side says, look, this is unworkable, we can't negotiate like this, then you turn around and blame them for rejecting a, quote, perfectly good deal. This is an Israeli tried and true tactic, which is always to sabotage any negotiations. And they reserve the right to do this right up to the last minute of any even long-running negotiations. You know, this is exactly what Trump is doing. So he's learned from, you know, his masters in Tel Aviv and the Roy Cohns of the world, the people who trained Trump, criminals, you know, mob lawyers, and other people like that. He's learned. And so now you've got a U.S. president that acts, talks, and handles himself like a mafia member of the mafia, because that's what Israel is basically the hub of a global international organized crime syndicate. That's effectively what the state of Israel is. It's masquerading as a country. It has no constitution. It has no declared borders. So why does it have no constitution? So it doesn't have to respect the rights of any of the native inhabitants, obviously. Why does it have no declared borders? Because it reserves the right to constantly expand those borders. I mean, those just on those 2 points alone. So it's a gangster. It's sort of a rogue gangster state, not really a real state in the sense that it doesn't have those two things which other countries have. So it's an entity, which is why its enemies call it the Zionist entity, and they don't name it Israel. If you notice, the Iranians call it the entity, the Zionist entity. Some Iranians will name it as Israel. But so there's Trump. He's doing exactly that. So he just admitted it. There's going to be no deal. He has no intention of doing any deal or anything like that. So we look at the statements here, and this is the latest sort of incoherent rant posted by the U.S. president. And the other thing is, this isn't even an official channel of U.S. government. So he's running the president of the United States. Just understand, I'll read this in a second. The president of the United States is running U.S. policy. We're supposed to be a superpower. That's what everybody says. U.S. is a superpower. So if we're a superpower, how come we can't issue statements from official channels of government? You've got the president who owns a website. That had a sort of dodgy, I don't know if it was an IPO or something, Truth Social, whatever the Trump media thing was. It was a complete scam. Anyway, he tried to make a competitor to Twitter, sort of flopped. And it's just become his own personal soapbox and other sycophants on that website. But he uses this to run foreign policy. So everything's got this narrow pipeline controlled by the president that all communications, so nothing's going through the State Department, or very little. The only thing they do in the State Department, or I think the U.S. Treasury is probably more of a State Department of all they're doing is sanctioning everybody. Targeting sanctions against everybody. That's what Scott Bessent is. The Treasury has become a subsidiary of the War Department in the U.S. It has been for a long time, but anyway. So here's with one of these ridiculous communiques here, and he's saying Iran decided to fire bullets yesterday in the Straits of Hormuz. Of course, no context. A total violation of our ceasefire agreement! ! So this is exactly what I said before. He's accusing them of violating it when the U.S. is the one that actually violated it. Okay. They didn't fulfill the deal, and Israel has blew up Lebanese infrastructure and then said that they weren't violating the ceasefire because they placed explosives and they weren't firing artillery rounds or dropping bombs. Therefore, it wasn't a violation, according to Israel. So if they wire a whole village and take down all of the buildings and homes in that village, the Israelis, then it's not a violation of the ceasefire according to Israel. You're dealing with fundamentally dishonest and evil people here. And that's who Trump is in bed with, and that's who he takes his marching orders for. He continues here, or whoever wrote this. Many of them are aimed at a French ship and a freighter from the United Kingdom. So he's trying to drag France and the UK into here, probably not successfully, but he got other countries to basically push boats into the straits in order to increase the chance of an international incident. You see what the U.S. is doing here. They want to pull Europeans in because they want to expand this. They want to create a war situation for Europeans in the Persian Gulf. They need to diffuse the focus away from the United States and Israel and add Europeans in there. And Europeans can say, our ships have been hit. This is an outrage. We need freedom of navigation, yada, yada, yada. Okay. It's a ploy. Okay. They will be there tomorrow evening, he says here. My representatives are going to Islamabad in Pakistan tomorrow evening. What's that, Monday? For negotiations. So who are these representatives? Who are they? Is he talking about these guys? These guys? That's your representatives? These guys. These two clowns. That's who's going to. So that's your rep. These guys are representing the United States in negotiations. That the tall, skinny one, Rodney. That's Rodney and Del Boy. Okay, Rodney is the president's son-in-law. okay, has no experience in doing anything diplomatic-wise other than flacking for Israeli settlements under the fake Abraham Accords, and then using that to claw money off the Arab states for his investment fund. Okay, that's Rodney, otherwise known as Jared Kushner, the son of a Jewish American Israeli or American Israeli Jewish American gangster who is a convicted felon. Okay, that's Jared Kushner, right? And of course, probably pardoned by Trump, I would imagine. Yeah, his dad was probably pardoned by Trump. It's a little bit of a perk if you marry into the family. So anyway, married to the mob. And then behind him is Del Boy, the Del Boy of diplomacy. That's Steve Witkoff. I coined that term last year, the Del Boy of diplomacy, Steve Witkoff. So who is he? He's just Donald Trump's golfing buddy, but he's not just Donald Trump's golfing buddy. Steve Witkoff is a shady property developer from Long Island who's dialed right into the Zionist mafia and the Israel lobby. And he was installed, both of those people were installed into their positions at the orders of the Israeli lobby. That's what $600 million buys you. Okay? In campaign contributions to the for Republican campaigns, but for the Trump administration, $250 million in campaign contributions. That's what it buys you. They get to choose who the negotiators are. Can you imagine this? And this is why the Russia-Ukraine negotiations were flopped, because of these two clowns. Because Del Boy and Rodney, they're not sent there to make sure that a deal gets done. Del Boy and Rodney are deployed. There you go, independent diplomats, trotters, New York, Tel Aviv, Islamabad. Del Boy and Rodney are sent to make sure that no deal happens, that you get war at the end of that. That's why they send these two clowns. These two clowns don't even write anything down. They decide what to relay back to the president. They keep Trump in the dark. It's very convenient how this is done. And of course, the Iranians know these two are scam artists, but they still have to sort of go through the motions. And again, no disrespect to Only Fools and Horses, and Del Boy and Rodney are lovable characters in that British comedy. And I hold them very dear to my heart. And David Jason was a wonderful comedian. But I'm using this as a type of a metaphor, if you will, satirical metaphor, just to show you what a bunch of two charlatans, basically, two savants, scam artists, especially Witkoff, is like next level. He's a next level con man. How he was able to wiggle his way in to these important positions. And all of these, everything that these two participated in has been a disaster. So at some point, well, with Trump, they're there to fail. That's why they're sent. Trump, Netanyahu is very happy that these two are doing what they're doing. Let's just be clear on that. Okay, these are two effectively Israeli assets that are embedded in the White House and running point on U.S. Middle East policy. Where is little Marco? Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, nowhere to be seen. He's kept well away from this. He's the chief diplomat, allegedly. He's supposedly Secretary of State. Marco Rubio is owned and operated by Israel. Full stop. But they don't send him because then he would be obligated under his professional capacity as someone who is actually confirmed by the Senate, unlike these two scam artists on screen here, unlike these two con men. Okay, Rubio is actually confirmed by the Senate, so he's accountable to the American people. That's why he's not sent. Do you see how this works? The Trump administration is a criminal outfit. And I'm not saying that in a TDS manner or whatever. The comments will say, Patrick's got Trump derangement syndrome. No, Donald Trump is the one who's deranged. Let's be clear. I think it's beyond debate at this point. So anyway, He's going to send his representative. So let's just take a look at the rest of this screed here. So again, he's already setting up the failure of these fake negotiations. He's saying, Iran recently announced that they are closing the strait, which is strange because our blockade has already closed it. So Donald Trump admits in this tweet that he violated the ceasefire. Okay. So they're helping us without knowing, and they're the ones that lose with the closed passage, $500 million a day. The United States loses nothing. In fact, many ships are headed straight right now to the USA, Texas, Louisiana, Alaska to load up on oil. Compliments of the IRGC, always wanting to be the tough guy. We are offering a very fair and reasonable deal. So on one hand, Trump is saying, hey, this has nothing to do with us. We don't need the oil. We don't care. Everyone's coming to us anyway. But then he's also at the same time wanting to control the Straits of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf and threatening Iran with annihilation. So he's really working on behalf of Israel. That's pretty clear. Otherwise, it might make sense if that wasn't the case, but that is the case. That's why none of this makes sense. In writing, it makes no sense, but we understand what's going on behind here. So we're offering a very fair and reasonable deal. He's not offering a fair and reasonable deal. That's why the deal is designed to fail. That's what this guy does. Okay. And I hope that they take it, because if they don't, the United States is going to knock out every single power plant and every single bridge in Iran. So what happened to all this concern for the Iranian people and democracy? Oh, and Trump claims that they're killing their civilians or killing 45,000. I'll have to find that clip. And he said, they'll come down fast, the bridges, he's saying. They'll come down easy. And if they don't take the deal, it will be an honor to do what has to be done. So he's saying it's going to be an honor to destroy Iranian infrastructure and society and kill Iranian civilians. An honor. This is a U.S. president. This guy needs to be yanked out of office yesterday. This is a menace to the world. I'm not even going to get into his attacks on the Pope this week. It's just unbelievable. It'll be an honor. Wow. And he's saying, what should have been done by other presidents. So other presidents should have done what Trump is doing, which is start an undeclared war of aggression and threaten civilizational annihilation of a country that never attacked the United States. Iran never did anything to the U.S. Despite all the lies they load up about, I could debunk them one by one. And so meanwhile, there's the president, So he's going to send Del Boy and Rodney. That's great news. Thanks, Donald. And so here's the Israeli president telling us, well, everything we need to know, quite frankly. Listen closely.
Israel is stronger than ever. This is the bottom line of this campaign up until now. Let me say, there are still additional objectives for us to achieve, and we will achieve them either by agreement or by resumption of the fighting. We are ready to resume the fighting at any moment. Our finger is on the trigger. As you know, 2-week ceasefire has been announced between the U.S. and Iran. No, we were not surprised in the last moment, and I want to emphasize, this is not the end of the war. This is a step in order to achieve all the objectives.
Did you hear that? This is not the end of the war. This is just a step to achieve all of our objectives. So that's the boss. The boss just laid it out. Listen to the boss. Okay. That is Trump's boss. That's who Trump answers to. He said the war will continue, and these are just a series of steps to achieve our objectives. So the negotiations, folks, listen, fake. Sending these to Netanyahu just told you right there, right from the horse's mouth. Listen to him. he's in a sick kind of deranged and perverted way. Netanyahu is the only honest one because he's telling you exactly what he's going to do. So when you see these guys show up, when you see these two clowns lurking around negotiations or in the Middle East or anywhere, it's a surefire guarantee that there's going to be war, okay, or that the war will continue because these guys are there on behalf of the war machine, okay? These two con artists, these two Israeli assets, these are, if not directly, at the very minimum, they're glorified Israeli agents for Israeli intelligence, glorified Israeli agents at the minimum. At the worst, and I think quite probably, they are Israeli intelligence assets. They're not registered as foreign agents. They're embedded in our White House in America. So think about that. The level of foreign control over the United States government, no one's ever seen this before. And the results are very clear for everybody to see. Look at what is happening. Look at how deeply we're falling deeper into the malaise of this war. So and these guys are just basically a symptom of it. I mean, you could say it's nepotism, but it's much worse than nepotism. It's not just Trump nepotism. It's Israeli control of the White House. That's what these two clowns are doing, and they're doing side hustles and deals while they're doing all this. So they're lining their pockets while all this is going on. With they're trying to basically siphon as much money out of the Middle East from these Gulf states. Some of them are stupid enough to dump money in these people's real estate deals or private equity funds or whatever scam they're running. Who knows? So just to reiterate my previous point, here's Trump. Listen to this guy when he's asked a specific question by the press, and we'll see what the answer to that question is. But it's just becoming obvious.
No, I don't. I have to do what's right. The Pope has to understand that. Very simple.
So the Pope has to understand, says Donald Trump. I'm just doing what's right, according to him. This guy's unbelievable. So what does the Pope have to understand? Let's listen.
I have nothing against the Pope. His brother's MAGA all the way. I like his brother, Louis. I'm not fighting with him.
So when someone as dishonest as this guy says, I have nothing against the Pope, translate that into he has everything against the Pope. He hates the Pope. Donald Trump is not a religious person. He's not. People like Trump only pretend to be religious in order to get votes, which he did with the evangelicals and the Christians. I love the Bible. He'd sit up there like it was embarrassing. He said, it's my favorite book. I love reading it. I love the Bible. It's a great book. It's a wonderful book. It's my favorite book. He's never read the Bible. Donald Trump is either an atheist or worse. You can be sure of that. Mark Levine said he's the first. Mark Levine, who is Israel's sort of mouthpiece at Fox News, said Donald Trump is America's first Jewish president. Now, has Trump converted to Chabad Lubavitch, Rabbi Schneerson cult? We don't know. I don't know the details of that. It's possible, but we don't know for sure. But he is not Christian. I can tell you that right now. That should be abundantly clear at this point. Let's listen to what he's saying.
The Pope made a statement. He says Iran can have a nuclear weapon.
That's a lie. So Trump is saying the Pope made a statement that Iran should have a nuclear weapon. So he's lying about the Pope. And the Pope never said that. It's a ridiculous statement. Why would the Pope ever say that? Seriously. So that's the level of dishonesty you're dealing with here. That this guy will do that in front of the world, in front of the media, to the world's most prominent religious leader, and impugn him, project on him a completely fabricated claim about something he never said. And it's something he would never say in this universe. And just the chutzpah of Trump to do that with a straight face. And he wants to be treated as credible. Every second word out of this guy's mouth is a lie. And this is a provable fact. I mean, you could sit here, you need a whole channel to unpack his lies. But he's not done here. This is a short clip. He's gonna squeeze a few more in for us here. Listen.
Say Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And if the Pope looked at the 42,000 people that were killed over the last 2 or 3 months as a protester with no weapons, no nothing, I mean, you take a look at that.
Yeah, let's take a look at that. You mean the protesters that you just admitted? Trump just admitted 2 weeks ago that he he sent weapons to the protesters. So everything that we said 3 months ago was correct. Trump, because he was bragging, he wanted to boast, and sometimes he's got a big mouth, and he can't keep it down. So he admitted that the U.S. was trafficking weapons to so-called peaceful protesters in Iran, which they're using to shoot police and innocent bystanders and to cause chaos. Everything we said. Okay. And then he turns around now after admitting that publicly, saying that, the Pope needs to look at the 42,000. So it's now 42,000 protesters that allegedly the quote regime slaughtered. There's no evidence that the Iranian government killed 42,000 or not even 30,000, not even 10,000, not even 5,000, not even 3,000. The number of total casualties from the U.S. and Israeli-backed unrest, U.S. and Israeli and probably British intelligence involved in covert actions to create violent, as they've done in Ukraine at Maidan, as they've done in Syria during the Arab Spring, as they've done in Libya. Standard procedure. The official number is 3,117, if I'm not mistaken. And that includes hundreds of police, dead police, burned alive. I've seen the evidence with my own eyes when I was in Iran investigating this very story. Many hundreds of innocent bystanders killed. And also many of these violent agent provocateurs also lost their life. This was unrest, instability that was directed and fomented from outside of Iran. It was meant to be a color revolution, and it failed. It was meant to be a color revolution to destabilize the country, and then the airstrikes would come, shock and awe. Trump even said during these so-called violent, what he called peaceful protests, which were violent, provocateuring, he said, rise up and take over your institutions. He said that publicly. So they had a plan, and it failed. So what you're seeing now is the result of that failure. And this guy is still harping on with the lie. Where does this number come from? 40,000. These are all U.S.-based fake Iranian NGOs, funded by the U.S. State Department, funded by the National Endowment for Democracy, CIA, openly CIA cutouts, based in New York, Iran Institute of Human Rights, and there's like half a dozen of these. And Iranian International News, which is an international news site that is an Israeli intelligence clearinghouse for propaganda against Iran, and they're using that as a source. The whole thing, the whole ecosystem is fake. So the provenance of this claim of all these protesters being slaughtered in Iran is fake. It's as fake as WMDs in Iraq. Period. They lied to us before. They lied to us constantly to go to war. They've done it again. This is the U.S. and Israel. Let me remind you, this is the Trump administration and Netanyahu joining forces to lie to the American people, to lie to the world, to create a fraudulent pretext, some moral argument to justify this vicious and illegal criminal war that they're currently waging. Let him finish.
So I can disagree with the Pope. I have right to disagree.
So he's even using the lie to attack the Pope. That's how shameless this decrepit old figure truly is. It's pretty unbelievable, this guy. So I don't want to get into the Pope thing. I mean, the funny thing about the Pope, Donald Trump's attack on the Pope, and you saw Sean Hannity and some of these his shameless surrogates come around. Hannity claims to be a Catholic. He said, I went to Catholic school and da-da-da, and I'm no longer a Catholic because of the way the Pope has mistreated my president, Donald Trump. So I don't think Hannity is very religious. Again, these people use their religion, they use the veneer of their faith for political reasons and to get credibility, and then they use it to protect themselves if they're being attacked. These people are shameless. So J.D. Vance, the vice president, he then did the stupidest thing imaginable. He got behind the president and attacked the Pope as well. And J.D. Vance is, J.D. Vance is the white Obama. Okay. He is a complete fabricated political construct that has no depth, believes in nothing, has no principles at all. He is the white Obama. He's 41 years old. He has no experience. He is literally a tool of big tech, of Peter Thiel, of the Zionists. The Israeli lobby own him. And they're backing him as well as a few others. They won't back one horse. They'll back them all. But J.D. Vance is one of the horses they're backing for 2028. And Vance converts to Catholicism during the campaign. It's exactly the same thing Tony Blair did. And he did that to kind of create this, aura, if you will, around him as being a religious, pious person with these deeply held beliefs. These people don't. If you had any deeply held beliefs, you wouldn't, as J.D. Vance did. That's not his real name, by the way. That's another one. But as J.D. Vance did, he accuses the Pope, the American Pope, Pope Leo. He accuses him of not understanding theology. This is a 41-year-old tech bro who has no experience in politics, who is Peter Thiel's protege. That's his main qualification. He is Peter Thiel's protege. He certainly doesn't have any of the attributes or qualifications to be president of the United States. Being vice president with no experience, that's not a qualification. So anyway, he attacks the Pope. And lo and behold, J.D. Vance's book is out. His book about converting to Catholicism, his faith journey. His book just comes out this week. I don't know how that book tour is going to go. Probably going to be a little bit rough. But the backlash has been severe with these people. So where does that leave us with war? Well, it's going to be sad to say, but they're taking the country back. They're taking the world back to war. Here is Pete Hegseth, basically, they're preparing for war. Listen.
Message to Iran's military leadership, to the KH leadership and IRGC leadership. We're watching you. Our capabilities are not the same, our military and yours. Remember, this is not a fair fight. And we know what military assets you are moving and where you are moving them to. While you are digging out, which is exactly what you're doing, digging out of bombed out and devastated facilities, we are only getting stronger.
So this guy, he's a former Fox News weekend host, again, not qualified to run the Pentagon, clearly, who uses more hair gel in a week than Gavin Newsom does in a year. And that's saying something. So this guy How he graduated from Princeton, it's not clear. How did Donald Trump graduate from Wharton Business School? Did he pay somebody to write his dissertation thesis for him? Many of these people do that sort of thing. These are the types of people that hire ghostwriters to write their books because they're too busy to write the book. Okay, these types of people. So this is a psychopath. This is what you're dealing with. And a lot of people have made accusations like that he's probably coked up half the time, like Zelensky. Look, I don't know if there's any truth to that. I'm sure it'll come out. But clearly unhinged, unstable, is in way out of his depth, and is completely psychotic.
You are digging out your remaining launchers and missiles with no ability to replace them. You have no defense industry, no ability to replenish your offensive or defensive capabilities. You only have what you have. You know that, and we know that. You can move things around, but you can't actually rebuild. We'll start with a message.
Big tough guy Pete Hegseth said, "This is not a fair fight. We're going to destroy you, and we're just waiting for the opportune moment to do that." That's what this sociopath is saying. I don't want to get into his record, but it's pretty horrific. His personal resume is a giant train wreck, basically. So how did he get this job? He was installed in that job by the Israeli lobby, and they made sure that every U.S. senator voted for him during the confirmation, when everybody knew that he was the worst candidate, probably the most unqualified major cabinet position in the history of the United States of America. A very important position, Department of Defense, which he proceeded when he got in to change it to the Department of War. So the U.S. will no longer defend itself. It's going to be waging war against other countries. And that's his legacy, basically. This guy, I call him Flathead. He just looks kind of funny looking guy. Unhinged. Anyway, we're stuck with these maniacs. So it's going to be, it's pretty clear that we're looking at war. It's as we feared. And just to round out the discussion on that, we'll bring back up on screen. Look, we'll show you the final notes on this. Not till Trump's not done. By the way, he did something else this week. He threw Joe Kent under the bus. Joe Kent is a whistleblower who resigned as counterterrorism chief under the Trump administration because he felt that Israel was dragging us into another war in the Middle East, and he wasn't going to have it. And so he resigned out of principle. So like the first person in Washington to have any actual balls to do anything for principle, probably the first high-level resignation in the U.S. government since the Vietnam War over 50 years ago. Joe Kent. So what does Donald Trump do? And Joe Kent was very loyal to Trump. Even after he resigned, he didn't say anything bad about Donald Trump, Joe Kent. He was very respectful, complimenting him, saying he's a good deal maker, all these other things. He wasn't, Joe Kent did not trash Donald Trump when he left. He said he just couldn't support this war, this illegal war, and on behalf of Israel. And so here's Trump. This is how he treats his supporters. Who's dumber, Tucker Carlson or Joe Kent? Says the president of the United States on his stupid website platform. And again, it's called Truth Social. And I have yet to see anything that's actually truthful on this website. The name Truth Social. He's got people saying the president put out a truth. Donald Trump renamed the tweet to a truth. So it's not a tweet, it's not a post, it's called a truth. So these people are so shameless that they will co-opt a word like the truth and use it as the front of house for a platform that all they do is lie. That all he does on that platform is lie. And he's running U.S. foreign policy on this thing, which should be an impeachable offense on its own. Him using his, quote, Truth Social Lie Social, as a platform to run U.S. policy, that's an impeachable offense. This guy needs to be yanked out of office by hook or crook yesterday. It's beyond a joke. It's dangerous for America and for the world. But anyway, he's trashing his former ally, his former cabinet appointee. And look at this. Look at what he says. He says that it's very interesting. I met Joe Kent at Dover Air Force Base along with numerous others who lost their loved ones in the war. I said hello to all the families. Kent horribly lost his wife. Her casket was being brought to Dover along with the rest. Although he married again quite quickly, in my opinion. What's that mean? He married quite quickly, too quickly. Is that any of Trump's business? He has to like get these digs in. He did the same with Thomas Massie. This guy is nasty. He's shameless. He's just vicious. Just a vicious operator. Her casket was being brought to Dover. Okay, Joe Kent married too quickly, remarried too quickly. Anyway, in any event, says Trump, a number of years later, I noticed the same person running for Congress in Washington State. He lost, and then he ran again and lost. So Donald Trump's inferring that Joe Kent is a loser because he didn't win his congressional in a hardcore Democrat state of the state of Washington. It's not easy for Republicans to win anything in Washington, quite frankly. Maybe out in Spokane or whatever might be easier, possible to be Republican rep there, but it's a blue state. So he's saying, well, I didn't know him, whatever. I felt sorry for him. I thought I'd give him a job in the White House. That's what Trump said. So he's really insulting the guy here, saying, oh, I felt bad. I only gave you this cabinet position out of pity. I mean, he's really trying to stick the knife in here. And he's saying, they did so. While I rarely saw him, I certainly didn't expect his disloyalty. But that's what I got. So Trump saying that Joe Kent is disloyal because he resigned. So what Donald Trump is saying here, this malignant narcissist, is saying that if you have principles and you're loyal to those principles, then, and you have to choose, but you can't choose between your principles and being loyal to me, the dear leader. Okay. Trump is a Maoist. Okay. He's not conservative. He is an authoritarian. He's like Pol Pot. Okay. There's nothing conservative about this guy. Zero conservative about Trump. His whole political story is a lie. His whole positioning of his facade is a lie. It's so self-contradictory. So you can't have principles or conservative principles. What Joe Kent did here was resign about another sort of illegal war overseas. That's a very conservative, traditionally very conservative position. A non-interventionist, more along actual conservative values about American sovereignty coming first. And Joe Kent said, no, this is Israeli sovereignty coming first. I can't take this. I'm resigning. So Donald Trump attacks him because Donald Trump is Pol Pot. And he then calls him a sleazebag, a leaker. He accuses him of being a leaker. There's no evidence that Joe Kent leaked anything. And I don't know if that was true or not. So he's throwing the accusation out there and saying, but I don't know if it's true or not. Just what a cowardice little sort of attack by Trump. He's a bully and actually a coward, the president. Because he throws out these sort of half-assed accusations and then rows them back in the same sentence. That's just a sniveling coward, basically. Kent is a loser, says Trump, just like Tucker, Candace, Megyn Kelly, the rest of the losers. They're born that way, low IQ. They're not a damn thing they're going to be able to do, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, this guy's unbelievable. I mean, he's really trying to stick the knife, and he signs his name to it. I don't know who wrote that. Could be Laura Loomer, could be Mark Levine. Like, who's running his stupid account? This guy. And you know what? And also, look, I had a lot of the MAGA bots, which is all that's left for MAGA, is there's bots on X. And some of them had a go at me saying, you're being disrespectful to the President of the United States. You can't call him stupid. Patrick, you shouldn't call him an idiot. He's the president. He's your president. You need to show respect for the office. You know what my response to that is? This is a president that himself has no respect for his own office. If he did even have a little bit of respect for the office of the presidency, he wouldn't behave and carry on the way that he has been doing. Donald Trump has destroyed the reputation of his office, nationally and internationally. That's beyond debate at this point. So if he's destroyed the reputation of the presidency and the office, it means nothing at the moment because of him, because of the way that he's conducted himself. Why should anybody else show respect to this person who calls himself the President of the United States? Why should anybody respect him? If he doesn't respect Americans, if he doesn't respect himself or the office of the presidency, what are we supposed to do? Say, yes, Mr. President, thank you for making a mockery of the office of presidency. Thank you so much, Mr. President. We respect you. Even though you're a complete psychopath, we respect you. Even though you're insulting the Pope and attacking Catholics and Christians, and you're supporting two genocides, one in Gaza and the other in South Lebanon, and you're threatening civilizational annihilation against a country that never attacked the United States to justify a war that you yourself started. But we need to respect you. Okay, this. Anybody who's saying this, you need to go to that sort of de-radicalization program where they get people out of cults, because you are in a cult. You're in what's left of MAGA, what the hollowed out shell that is MAGA. MAGA at this point is basically a bunch of bots on X and just a load of AI slop. That's MAGA. That's what's left. It's completely hollowed out. So anybody that's still in that habitat, you need to get you need to go for counseling. You need to get de-radicalized out of the cult. Like when families go and rescue their kids from the whatever cult. You're in need of major interventions at this point. So there's, it's sad. I knew this was going to happen. I knew he was going to attack Joe Kent. He's got such a galactic size ego, this guy, that he can't take anybody breaking rank. So he's surrounded by just sycophants. And you can't run a government like that. It's not a serious government. It's not a serious country. This is not a serious president. He's just turned into just an incoherent train wreck, a shyster at this point, who's in self-destruct mode constantly. So anyway, let me just point this out, folks. And Russian security chief issues warning to 4 NATO states. So Finland and the Baltic states, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia have allowed the Ukraine to use their airspace to launch drone attacks, destroying Russian refineries and ports, oil refineries, gas refineries, and export terminals. Okay, this is a final warning from Russia. This is war. So Europe and the UK and the US can't keep playing this charade, turning Europe into the rear front of Ukraine and using it to plow weapons and money into Ukraine, get it to attack Russia, and to prevent it from being able to export oil and gas. That's war. Imagine if someone did that to the US, what would happen? The US would not wait. They would attack. Obviously, Russia has to weigh things carefully. But the Europeans, the Americans, this is what they're doing behind the scenes. And they think you're going to get away with it. Are they going to drag us into World War III? These are these politicians, Mark Rutte, Kalliakalis, all these other people, the crazy UK defense minister. These people have got war fever. I don't know where it came from. But this is real. That's what's actually happening. So, we'll talk about that. It is about energy. The United States is trying to game the global energy. That's why the U.S. is happy the Straits of Hormuz are actually closed, because they're at the same time Trump's bragging about sending tankers going to the Gulf of Mexico, or the Gulf of America, as he's renamed it. Nutcase. So this is why they stole Venezuela's oil and kidnapped their president. This is why they started this war in Iran. This is why they don't want the Ukraine-Russia war to end. Okay? And here, just so you know, those three red arrows, that's the United States and its allies intervening to gum up global oil and gas, period. And of course, the United States is then going to supply the world, or as much as they possibly can, to become the dominant oil and gas producer and distributor on the planet, and use that as leverage to further bully and manipulate markets and people and countries and governments, along with the tariffs and everything else. That's exactly what you're seeing right now. That's exactly what's happening right now. So, and again, if you want receipts, there it is. U.S. production, export volumes soaring. That's the industry, American Oil and Gas Reporter. That's the industry press. Projecting growth into 2030. So a lot of people say, America first, America first. Problem with America first is if it means that everyone else is last, then you're going to have some big problems. And these old boomers who are making these problems are saddling the next generation with the retribution and the revenge that's coming against America and future generations. They're consigning them to suffer for the sins of these boomers who, quite frankly, aren't going to be around very long, but they're ruining the show on their way out. So anyway, take a look at that. I mean, it's right there in black and white. That's the U.S. grand strategy. We'll get into more of that again. A shout out to Richard Medhurst, British journalist, who did a very nice short documentary film, mini doc, if you will, which is on his social media on this very issue. This is the big play. In the Nord Stream pipeline, the sabotage, the U.S.-led NATO sabotage of the Nord Stream pipeline was part of this. It's a step-by-step process. So Trump is just the guy they needed, the gangster they needed to kind of, fast track this agenda. Basically, look, let's take a break right now, and we'll go to Overdrive and invite our colleagues, as well as look at your comments. All of that is coming up very soon. So in the meantime, big shout out to our the Real Anthem Band. This track, I love this track. Big shout out to Real Anthem Band. Their link is in the description. Support this artist. This is a great band. We know this band, and they've been very kind to supply their incredible new tracks to this show, and we're just blown away by that. So enjoy that. We'll see you in just a few moments. I'm Patrick Henningsen. This is the Sunday Wire, episode 591. Stay with us.
Cover in the dark, secret wars are waged, quiet army sabotage, bloody tension remains, global faces of a crime, a sleight of hand betrays. Something slept inside their hearts as explosions rage. begin to show a crack as ancient echoes fade. Scales shall fall from blinded eyes, renewing all our faith. The system breaks as truth increases. The grip on us and the world order ceases. Behind the mask, it's falling to pieces. What comes next? Have they lost all reason? Eyes open wide. There's no disguise. Eyes open wide. The system breaks as truth increases. The grip on us and the world order ceases. Behind the mask, it's falling to pieces. What comes next? Have they lost all reason? The system breaks as truth increases. The grip on us and the world order ceases. Behind the mask, it's falling to pieces. What comes next? Have they lost all reason?
Eyes Open Wide. That's a real anthem band. The lyric I like in there that's always stuck in my head was, the system breaks when truth increases. I love that. I love that because it's so true. And as truth becomes more pervasive, that's when the system breaks. That's when you start to see the system malfunctioning and panicking, trying to impose censorship. So yeah, it's because truth is increasing. That's what we try to do on the show. That's what you guys are here for. That's the mission, basically. Real anthem band, awesome project there. Big shout out to Sean, who's the front man of that band. They're just doing great work. So we really, really appreciate that. Look, we're going to be joined by our teammates in a moment. We're going to bring up on screen a couple of our alternate current radio compatriots coming onto the program. So without further ado, let me bring them on. This is Bryan McClain, also known as Hesher here, host of the Boiler Room. Let me try to bring you guys up. Let me see. There he is. There's our guy. Nice one.
What's up?
Good day, my good sir.
Yes, good to see you.
Hope all is well. And also, this is Adam Clark, also known as Ruckus. He's joining us as well. Good to see you guys.
Yes, sir.
So,
Likewise.
yeah, so the theme of the show is there's going to be more war. I hate to say I was right, but yeah, well, there it is. Yep. By way of deception, thou shalt wage war. That is the strapline now of the U.S. government. Familiar old strapline.
Well, I wish to challenge your theory before you even get into it, Patrick. I don't think it's by way of deception. I think it's by way of this guy right here. The Thing with Two Heads. All right, classic film. I don't know if everybody remembers this one. But yes, Donald Trump and Benjamin Bibi Netanyahu playing in a war theater near you. The Thing with Two Heads. What do you think?
I think it's a two-headed beast. That's why you can never go into negotiations thinking you're dealing with one entity and really you're dealing with another. The other head of the beast you can't see because it hasn't flipped around like on The Exorcist. So that's the U.S. and Israel. That's Trump and Netanyahu. It's a very accurate a pastiche there of is that an old 50s horror film or something?
I think it's from like the 70s, but yeah,
70s,
it's a real horror flick. Yeah, it's a terrible flick, by the way.
So is
this. The real thing is even worse.
It is. We're suffering badly through all of this. Your thoughts on this, Hesher? I mean, can't say we're surprised, but it's still not. It's still horrific nonetheless.
Yeah, on Friday afternoon, I started putting together our notes for the boiler room that we did that night. And while I'm in the middle of that, I get, a pop up. Oh, the straits are back open. And I just immediately thought, come on, I'm trying to prepare a show here. And now you're going to throw this turd into the punch bowl. Thanks a lot, American media. Thanks a lot, Trump administration. And immediately I'm like, I know this is going to be bogus. But, all the mainstream news is reporting it. The straits are back open, and then we get into the show, and it's like, I go around the room, I'm like, does anybody think the straits are going to be open or even are open? And we looked at some of the comments coming from Iran versus some of the comments coming from the United States, and then looked at some of the schizo posting that Trump was doing. And it was just like, no, sorry, this isn't going to last. So by the time I woke up the next day, they're closed again. So, just not surprised and highly annoyed. I'm trying to put together a cogent show and talk about what's going on. And then this turd falls into the punch bowl, the information punch bowl. And, we got to waste time talking about it and explaining that, hey, this is probably a ruse. The two sides are not making sense, and Donald Trump in his schizo posting is contradicting himself every third sentence.
Yeah, I mean, it's I just have to just ignore the flip-flopping at this point and just wait for it to finish, so they'll sort of rest on the default position, which is that there's going to be more war. I mean, that's one way you can approach this to keep sane. Let me welcome onto the program the proud owner of Zorro Ranch. Can you believe it? Basil Valentine had a big Grand National, and he's moved in. He has bought Zorro Ranch in New Mexico, and as you can see, he's out there on the veranda. And just if you move your head, you can see that I think Ghislaine and Jeffrey in the background. I see you've made some new friends there, Basil.
Yeah, remembering happier times there with a couple of weekend guests, but seriously, I believe that's actually at Balmoral. I think that might be in the grounds of one of the many royal palaces, where, of course, they were entertained by the individual now known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Though, of course, if he took his father's surname, it would be Andrew Oldenburg, or possibly Schleswig-Holstein, Sonderburg, Glucksburg. But of course, royals. That was the old Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip's name. Usually, people take their father's name. Not this Mountbatten Windsor's completely made up. Of course, the British royals, some people may not know this, changed the name from Saxe-Coburg to Windsor in the early part of the 20th century to sound more English.
Yeah, because they want to sound German, because the anti-German thing was sort of boiling up at that point. Jeffrey just knew him as Randy Andy. I think that was the nickname.
That's right. Anyway, I mean, it's as relevant now as it was when I put that picture up for the first time a couple of months ago. To what extent is American foreign policy dictated by the grave from this guy? Or indeed from Tel Aviv by this guy, Oh,
no connection to Israel. What are you talking about there, Basil? It's you're trying to impugn Israel with Jeffrey's terrible reputation. Ruckus, you used to live down the road from Zorro Ranch. Did you hear anything? Did the locals know anything? Was there any suspicions or?
It was like nobody really talked about that place or even knew it existed, even after the Epstein thing, until it started becoming a thing in the news recently. And because of that, and under the Trump second administration, one of his buddies who purchased it, I guess, or parts of it. They did, yes, it's pretty wild. But they finally had they had all these protesters out there, the social justice warriors. They had flowers out for all the victims. It was like you guys know this has been sitting here this whole time, and now all of a sudden you're concerned that no justice was done, and they were screaming, "How come there was no investigation?" And so I guess allegedly now that they started digging and stuff. I don't know. I think we need to follow up with it. But no, there was zero whispers about anything strange going on whatsoever. A mutual friend of ours, a gentleman that you met, Devin from Albuquerque, he catered an event there. And he says there was nothing really weird going on there other than the fact that they told him he couldn't photograph, couldn't take videos, and he had to sign a non-disclosure agreement and all that stuff. So, but that would have been neat for him to poke around. I think that guy, very conspiracy-minded, would have certainly found something interesting, Patrick.
Yeah, and suppose the bodies are being excavated. I can't imagine why a Trump inner circle guy would want to buy Zorro Ranch. Do you find that a bit odd, a bit strange? Does that raise any questions?
He said, well, my spidey sense was tingling when they said they want to convert this place, which allegedly, if what our hearing is true, evil things are taking place. They want to make it into a Christian summer camp. It's probably a Zionist flavored one, if I were to guess, if I were a betting man.
So fitting.
Like a little pre-TPUSA, something like that.
And what's with the buying parts of the land? Which parts? Why are we parsing it? We're talking about, venture capitalists and, mafia mob bosses. They should have money to buy the whole piece of property if they needed to. But somebody needs to get some ground penetrating radar out there.
Yeah, I think so. I think there needs to be some analysis of the satellite before and after photos, or just to try to track what's going on there. It's impossible to see anything. We drove by it on the highway. You can't see anything up there. You can only see it from overhead view. It's very well concealed, and it's kind of up on a high position as well. So if you're down low on the highway, runs on the low ground, you can't. We tried to sort of see what was up there. You can just about with high powered binoculars get a glimpse of the main building, but it's very well protected, basically. So,
when you throw parties like that, it's probably best to have the high ground, I suppose.
Let's see what they're saying here in the comments. It's Bohemian Globe, regardless.
Yeah.
Says Canvas iBus here. Yes, that's right. It is. Look, you guys. Were there parties there? Did these two know each other? Well, Trump knew both of them. There is a sort of 1 degree of separation there between Diddy and Epstein. But was there a ballroom there? Probably running around in the woods. Buy the Zorro Ranch and salt the hell out of it, says I am Marty. I'm not sure what that means. What does that mean? Salt the hell out of it. What is he talking about there?
Ward off evil spirits or something.
Yeah, it could be something like that. Could also be disposing of evidence. I don't know.
Okay, this is Rupert Fellows. The ballroom is just cover for a nuclear bunker and military HQ complex. It is New Mexico after all the Dulce Underground Wars. Basil, the Dulce Wars. Are you familiar with the Dulce Wars in New Mexico?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, supposedly, for those that don't know, this was a series of underground battles that took place between reptilian extraterrestrials and Earth forces. The Greys might have been involved, some faction of the so-called Zeta Reticuli. I mean, the whole thing may be a complete myth. But what certainly isn't a myth is the disappearance and death of all these scientists. This is a very interesting story. I don't know if you picked up on this, but about a dozen prominent UFO researchers, scientists, analysts have either died or disappeared in the last couple of months. It echoes a similar spat of deaths and disappearances among British scientists in the 1980s, for which again, there was no explanation. Likewise, there's no explanation of this latest round of deaths and disappearances, but they seem to be all people particularly connected with the ongoing disclosure program, which is bubbling away in the background there, and which you can find obviously more about on the nether reaches of YouTube.
I thought it was nuclear scientists. I thought it was nuclear scientists, or
it was
nuclear.
in the
nuclear.
80s.
The comments
Yeah.
are going to thrash me for saying nuclear. Nuclear scientists. See that? See how flexible I am with my dictation? Nuclear.
Yeah. In Britain in the 80s, I believe it was largely nuclear scientists, but the people that have been killed or died in mysterious circumstances and or disappeared, and there's about 4 or 5 that have just gone missing, completely unexplained, professional people just vanishing into thin air. They are all UFO related.
The headline out here on this one, the most recent headline I have on it, at least published 2 days ago. It's over at RT. If your interwebs will let you go there. Trump orders probe into mysterious deaths of U.S. nuclear scientists. At least 10 experts linked to classified aerospace and nuclear programs have died or gone missing since 2023. And they're saying the possible 11th case emerged this week as the Daily Mail reported that Amy Eskridge, a 34-year-old scientist allegedly researching anti-gravity technology, was found dead in her Alabama home in 2022 from a self-inflicted gunshot. However, the outlet found that neither the police nor medical examiners have released a public investigative report. And before her death, Eskridge stated on a podcast that her life was in danger. So that's sort of the most recent one that they're thinking might need to be added to this pile. And in the pile, you'll find people that, could be related, like that one in particular, researching anti-gravity technology. Okay. But there's JPL, there's Monica Jacinto Reyes, a director at JPL, vanished. You've got Frank Miwad and Michael Hicks, no foul play, but cases have just gone public and people are starting to talk about them. You had Stephen Garcia, government contractor at Kansas City National Security Campus, which produces over 80% of non-nuclear components for U.S. nuclear weapons. There's a whole lot of rhetoric like that attached to each of these, and it's picking up steam. I've seen a lot of people talk about it lately.
I think this would make a great T-shirt, you guys. Nuclear.
I see what
Had
they
to
did
get
there.
the Q in. Had to get the Q in, didn't they?
Yes.
April R.
Patrick, did you catch wind of what Trump was talking about, semi-related to all this in your neck of the desert on Friday? He was in Phoenix. I think
What?
it was a TPUSA. Yes, I just sent you a link in our private chat right here, but he's literally talking about UFOs again as these
What day?
missing scientists. He was there Friday. Just Friday.
Trump was here on Friday?
Yep.
Oh my God. That was probably
I think it was a TPUSA event.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I missed that. That would have been.
But yeah, he's mouthing off. Everyone's worried about the war and stuff, and missing nuclear scientists that may have something to do with like exotic UFO technology. And all of a sudden, Trump's like, "Yeah, by the way, UFOs." Oh, okay. What?
He's throwing them out there. Okay, let's shift gears. Did you guys see Joe Rogan in the White House flacking for psychedelics?
Yes.
I need to get. I need. Well, we got three interesting minds here to comment on this topic. First, I'll go around the horn. What did you think about? I'll try to get the clip up here, Hesher. But what did you think about that?
It's sort of a mixed bag for me because I actually think that there is some science behind ibogaine and getting people off hardcore addictions. Like there's stuff to be learned there, and I think that research should be unlocked and have the chains pulled off of it, like I do a lot of plant research. But the fact that Joe Rogan can text the president and say, hey, this drug should be legal, and then the president will invite him into the Oval Office, and allegedly sends him a response. Sounds good. Do you want FDA approval? You know what I mean? Like, what about the rest of America that has opinions about plant research, about how plants can help people with addiction and stuff like that, and even, pharmacological, we'll say, lab derived plant or plant derived lab products, stuff like that. Like I'm interested in it. We have huge addiction problems. People lose their lives to addiction. And Joe may have a point on this one, but it's the system that is being underscored here that I find very disturbing.
Yes. I'll bring the clip up in a minute. Ruckus, what are your thoughts on this development? On the photo op, really, even.
I really think, I was going to say, remember that this is taking place in the middle of Trump throwing all the other conservative MAGA former supporters under the bus. And that is all I see.
Point.
That is all I see when I see, but yet we're going to drag up Joe Rogan in front of everybody and he gets the picture. Yeah, so that's that. Everything else is like, I don't even care, to be honest with you. I was like, I see what's going on here, because Trump is developing this red dot, blue dot mailbox system. He wants to start labeling who's good in the media, who's bad in the media. He just had a truth about that recently. I don't know if you caught that. And then again,
don't say truth. Don't say truth.
Sorry,
we're falling into the psyop. It's like a black hole. We're getting sucked into
one of his lies.
Just call it one of his sort of malignant tweets. I don't know. We'll have to come up with a name. Twats, not a tweet, but a twat.
Yeah, he twatted I don't know. The other day. Yeah,
twatted. Yeah, that might work, Basil. That's a good workaround, isn't it? Instead of calling his posts truths, we could call them not tweets but twats. I know that sounds a bit like basic. But I'm searching for your wordsmith as well, Basil. What do you think? We can't call them truths because they're not true. What can we call them?
Well, they're sort of empirical pronouncements, aren't they? But I think the best thing to do is simply to ignore them. This week, of course, he had another go at Tucker Carlson, didn't he? And him and Joe Kent. And Tucker has responded. I don't know if you've seen, he posted just a couple of hours ago that the war of words between him and, in this case, his former colleague at Fox News, Sean Hannity, has really ramped up. Now, as you pointed out in your monologue at the beginning, Patrick, Trump is not a man of faith, put it that way. I remember when he first appeared as a candidate, thinking that his lack of any Christian conviction, his very obvious lack. I mean, the word sinner, but we're all sinners, of course, but Trump's never appeared to show any contrition for any of his misdeeds, so to speak. I thought that would hinder him as a candidate, that it would be difficult for him to co-opt the evangelical right, because they could see that he was just an extremely selfish narcissist and money grabber, a womanizer, all the things Christians are supposed to eschew, even if they do indulge in them themselves. But to endorse a candidate whose trademark is that kind of indiscretion was going a bit far. Anyway, he managed that, didn't he? And so on and so forth. Fast forward to today, and Tucker has correctly identified the new civic religion in the United States of Israelism.
Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Hold that thought. I've got that clip, Basil. We'll get to that. But just here's the Joe Kent, the attack on Joe Kent here, which you put up. This is completely unnecessary. The guy resigned. He was very respectful to Trump, as I said during my opening segment. He never trashed Trump after he resigned, but he was a whistleblower, and he pointed out that Israel was dragging the United States into another disastrous war. That's I think perfectly very clear. Yeah, there is a Ruckus. Will bring that up on screen. Captain America, just about as close as you can get to Captain America, exactly. And what did Trump do? Look at this. Have you guys read this? This is another insane one. They're getting more kind of insane. So yes. This could be Trump. Who do you think is writing this? It could be him, but I do have my suspicions that it's Laura Loomer running that account, or Levine, or somebody like that. Maybe a couple of people have access to it.
Ooh, Stephen Miller.
Or Stephen Miller, exactly. I'm just thinking of the most insane people in his orbit. But this is just uncalled for. I'm sorry, but this is a guy that had a stellar record, and dotted his I's and crossed his T's. Very well spoken. He served the administration, and he's basically just really trashing him gratuitously. Of course, this reflects badly on Trump. Any normal person would say whoever wrote this themselves is the real loser. I think that's beyond debate. But what does this say, you guys? I mean, Hesher, what did you see this, and what are your thoughts on this one?
It's the whole existence of this platform, as you were pointing out, the whole existence of this account, and then the content of the account are like a ritual humiliation, not just against the global population and the American people, but against the office of the presidency itself. This is not, you know what I mean? Like, there was a moment around like 2022 or something like that, and then where it was like, okay, politicians are speaking in open format now, and they're available on social media, and this is interesting. And look what it has devolved into. It has devolved into the actual president of the United States using social media as a propaganda weapon and a humiliation tool. I mean, I can't think of much, as far as the public front of the White House, aside from their geopolitical warmongering and political Zionist actions in support of, just the Great Reset. As far as communications go, it's just an abomination. I mean, just take all the personalities out of it, and the rhetoric is disgusting. It's deplorable. It's juvenile. I had better insults when I was a 6th grader. I received and gave better insults, in 3rd grade probably than what we're seeing here. So it's just like, to me, it's just a huge verification that we are not supposed to have any respect for any institution anymore in this country. And I think ultimately the reasoning behind that is because they want to wipe this country out. They want to get rid of it. This country is a problem. An armed nation of citizens is a problem. A constitution is a problem. A Bill of Rights is a problem. A legal system that should function on those tenets is a problem. So I think that's why this is just an enormous, embarrassing shit show.
Trump's America in 2026 it's as if 1984, Orwell's 1984, had been written by Mike Judge. or you could say it's as if Idiocracy had been written by George Orwell. I think the first is better because it's a mashup of the two, isn't it? You've got ever more surveillance that's coming in as well, isn't it? And at the same time, it's at the top. You've got this buffoon, but using language which, I mean, other countries, embassies and diplomats record everything that a president puts out and analyze it and what have you. As Hesher said, it's deeply embarrassing to have somebody using this kind of language in public, regardless of how they feel about the individual and his merits or demerits. It's so crude. It's so coarse. It's so vulgar. Yeah, you have a vulgarian, a criminal vulgarian running the country.
Vulgarian, I like that. So April's saying here, if Trump was a drunk, it would make sense, but he does this sober, and that's a good point, and it's a point I've made. If there's anybody in the world that needs a drink, it's probably Donald Trump. He is so tightly wound. So what do you think about that, Basil? Teetotal? Can you be a teetotal extremist and then just become malignant because of that? Do you know, in your travels, I know you've been around the block a few times. What do you think about that? Should Trump take up drinking? Would that help?
Well, anything at this point, frankly, it might sort of the spirit of Bacchus might lead him to a more sort of jovial demeanor, shall we say, to a more, reignite some sense of camaraderie with the rest of the human race. Because at the moment, it's a combination of early stage senility and dementia with what we're seeing is a very, very nasty person as well. That's the thing. He's anybody who crosses him in even the most minor way is automatically binned off with this obscene language. I'm struggling to find a metaphor, to be honest.
Yeah, Ruckus got this hold my beer, that's just Trump meme there. He's already addicted to painkillers. He does take statins, and he takes extra aspirin, apparently. He's on all sorts of various drugs and whatnot.
He's fast food. Ew.
What do you think about this, you guys? And he's the McDonald's proponent. I mean, listen, you could take a bunch of cardboard out of the dumpster and eat it, and it's got more nutritional value than McDonald's. And that's what Trump eats all day. I rest my case. Pope Leo is blunt. Trump fits the description of the Antichrist in the Holy Bible. Whoa. Well, as far as conservatives and MAGA goes, or, conservative movement, Trump is actually the Antichrist.
Well, certainly, yeah.
Can we agree on that from a conservative position?
Well, right? Exactly. I mean, things like that tweet. I mean, how can any sort of conservative with a small c individual, in other words, what a former Prime Minister of Britain used to call the people at home, quiet churchgoers. How can they possibly endorse somebody who thinks and writes like that, unless their Zionism so completely dominates every aspect of their thinking, and they're sort of so eaten up by war fever that they're willing to forgive him this descent into lunacy, But I think, you guys are over there. I'm not. I think this sort of the quiet Americans, so to speak, who voted for him once, twice, maybe three times, in the belief that he was, although flawed, ultimately well-meaning, somewhat folksy in his approach, and of course making all sorts of promises about improving the living standards of the American people and no more wars, and were willing to forgive him the sort of rather blunt way of speaking and all the rest of it. But in fact, what we've had is this blunt way of speaking has degenerated into total vulgarity, really obscenity, and he's done the polar opposite of everything he promised in terms of policies in the run-up to the 2024 election. So are the quiet Americans deserting him?
Well, Wandering Wolf here is saying cheapening vandalism of the discourse as a tool of demoralization. Well said, all. So that's the net effect, is that we're sitting here in the intelligent pundit class. We're analyzing this. We can detach ourselves from it. What about rank and file, people who aren't media madmen and, political heads? Or what's the net effect on them? I mean, we're getting pissed off, obviously, but what about people that don't want to get involved in politics, but they're still absorbing this and they're still processing it? So that's, I think, what Wandering Wolf is alluding to here, that's going to have a subconscious, demoralization. Yeah. What do you guys think? Any thoughts on that? Anybody?
Yeah, I mean, I see the demoralization. Just look at JD Vance speaking in front of TPUSA. No one shows up, even if the tickets are free now. Like, cool, you guys made $40 million on the back of a super emotional event that many people think is probably a psyop. Well, look how long that gravy train lasted. Look how long. How many months can you run around doing your fake evangelical podcast, Erica Kirk? How long does that pay off for you? Especially when you've got representatives resigning in packs of two for like horrible sexual crimes and stuff like this. I mean, the whole evangelical veneer of MAGA has completely fallen apart. The whole MAGA is not going to get involved in false flags and psyops talking point has fallen apart. The whole MAGA is not going to drag us into war has fallen apart. The whole MAGA is going to protect your First Amendment, Second Amendment, all your amendments has fallen apart. And, so yeah, I think that the demoralization has been profound. And, I'm doing my best to demoralize Trump people when I talk to them at this point. It's like, you need to shake the dissonance off. You need to understand this is not what you were advertised. This is not what you were sold. But then, we're in Texas, so we're in a very red zone, and we see a lot of people that are, still 100% in. They watch nothing but Fox and look at nothing but Truth Social, and they love this. This is like that for some reason they can't separate themselves from the, red team versus blue team infotainment section of the media.
But that whole game has changed too. The way politics used to work is changed right in front of our eyes, and they've ripped the mask off. And it's like, talk about a uniparty. It's something else entirely. I mean, you keep saying, "Oh, MAGA this and MAGA promises and broken promises," and Trump has clearly greatly distanced himself from all of the original MAGA supporters that got him elected. We don't understand yet why he's decided to throw these people completely under the bus, back up the bus, set it on fire, and everything. I mean, it's terrible. But there's zero backing, there's no distancing, there's no separation between the Republican Party from MAGA. And it's like, and does MAGA even exist anymore? Or is this just all a bunch of Trump loyalty? It seems like a lot of loyalism. I don't know what the proper term here is for it, but it's like, you got to be loyal to Trump, and that's it. You're not loyal to the country. You're not even loyal to your party. You're not loyal to MAGA. You're not loyal to anything but Trump. Sorry for the dogs barking, everybody.
No, I hear that. Here, I just want to bring this up on screen, you guys. This is the latest. Yes, here, Rag & Hild, classic sociopath manipulation. First phase is always telling people exactly what they most want to hear. That's actually how good propaganda works. Good propaganda is telling people what they desire, what they really want to hear. But there, check this out. You'll get a kick out of this. I'm sure you'll get a chuckle, Basil, out of this one. But on the whole Pope, Trump thing, just weighing in on that. Here we go. I just tweeted this out, you guys. There you go. I don't know if you can see that or not.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The Vatican is only 2 weeks away from developing a nuclear bomb. President Trump will do the right thing. And IDF airstrikes against the Vatican. What do you think?
Redo that meme, except say the Southern Baptist churches, because that's the next phase. You don't kid yourselves, people. Do you think that once this is all said and done, Israel's going to continue to be buddies with those Zionist Christians? I don't think so.
You're saying it's a marriage of convenience? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Well, that's the end times paradox, isn't it? When the Messiah comes back, all the Jews have to convert. Otherwise, they're going to hell, or they're going to get raptured with JDAM bombs. I mean, that whole part isn't quite explained, isn't it? With Christian Zionism and Jews, like what happens
and they're working
at the very end? What happens?
It doesn't work out. They don't come together. Like, so the one side says the one thing that you just said, and then of course on the Israeli side you've got actually we're going to live here in Israel forever, physical Israel on earth, and we're going to rule everything. We're the kings and the queens and all the other cattle. We've got rules set up for you. There's 7 of them. They're the Noahide laws, which you probably already heard of.
Oh, those are the ones that Ben Shapiro said that we all need to follow. Otherwise, that we can only live with him in society if we follow he said that this week. We have to follow the Gentiles need to follow the Noahide laws. And if they do, he has said he has no problem with us. That's what Ben Shapiro said this week. I'll have to find that clip, but it's a classic.
Which is hilarious coming from the guy who did all the like Sharia laws coming sort of stuff. It's like, well, isn't this just another version of that?
Yeah.
Well, Patrick David yesterday and his guest said that the Vatican was very similar to Iran, the two absolute theocratic regimes in the world.
Who said that?
That was Patrick Bet-David.
Patrick Bet-David. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah.
Oh, was he talking to Netanyahu? Did he manage to interview Netanyahu recently?
I don't know, but he had another guest with him, and they were sort of they identified the Vatican and the theocratic regime in Iran as being the two most significant theocracies, with this infallible supreme leader at the top, of course. And I don't know if it's time now to go to Tucker's Israelism speech, or speeches, because he's been doubling down on it.
Yeah, we can do. Just before we do that, here, I just wanted to show you the Joe Rogan Trump thing. Just a quick comment on this, and we'll get to Tucker in a second, but this is the LSD press conference.
I sent President Trump some information. We have a gigantic opiate problem in this country, obviously. In 2024, more than 80,000 people died of overdoses. It's a horrible number.
First of all, guys, who are these cast of characters? But I mean, I know they
look like gangsters. Of course, Robert Kennedy's one of them. I mean, we've got used to that now. It's really
RFK, but next to RFK, there's this sort of little Italian dude or whatever, and then you've got DC Drano. It looks like a sort of older DC Drano on the side of Rogan, and then some other guy. And RFK Jr., you guys, is only about 5'7". Okay, 5'8". And then look, so Joe Rogan must be like 5'2".
5'3". Yeah, he must be tiny. Yeah.
It's so. Yeah. Don't you not guys find this scene weird of him standing behind Trump and Trump's just in the foreground, just looking disinterested as usual, he's probably looking his own signature.
They look like the mobster. They look like the mobster extras from an episode of Kojak.
Yeah, Kojak, totally. Telly Savalas, who loves like you, baby?
Henchmen. They look like the henchmen. Do you know what I mean? Particularly the two on the right of the picture behind Trump's left shoulder, and for that matter, the guy on the far left as well. I mean, only RFK's grey suit as opposed to the black suits of the other men, sort of. But yeah, they just look like a bunch of gangsters. But then again, that's very largely what they are. So no surprise there.
RFK looks very uncomfortable throughout this exchange. I don't know if you guys watched his facial expressions. Looks extreme. I noticed these things, and he looks very out of sorts. But let's listen to this real quick.
More than 5 million people that are addicted to opiates right now in this country. With one dose of Ibogaine, more than 80% of people are free of that addiction. With 2 doses, it's more than 90%. I sent him that information. The text message came back, sounds great. Do you want FDA approval? Let's do it. It was literally that quick. These drugs are illegal not because they're harmful. They're illegal because of the 1970 Controlled Substances Act that was passed by the Richard Nixon administration. They did it to target the civil rights movement and the anti-war movement. It's not because these drugs harm people. And for 56 years, we've lived under those terrible conditions. We're free of that now. We're free of that now. Thanks to all these people that you see next to me, and thanks to President Trump.
Wow. So you guys so this is at a time when Trump has attacked all of the other podcasters. He's attacked and then Rogan's in there, top podcaster there, suddenly in the Oval Office. How much of this is public relations? RFK looking visibly uncomfortable there. He himself is hopped up on testosterone daily, his T supplements, which has clearly done something to RFK. Has this weird aura. It's like there is no aura there. It's like a drone. I went to his rally in Phoenix, and I was very close to him, and it was just like there was like a dark cloud over his head. I couldn't work it out, but it was weird. But anyway, your guys' thoughts on this? Hesher, firstly, psychedelics. Look, some of what Joe Rogan said is true. But should we be doing government by podcast? I don't think that's necessarily a great thing. I think this stuff needs to be heavily regulated because it just cannot be like sweets in a sweet store with everybody, because I've seen people go completely off their rails on psychedelics. Some people turned and never came back. I've seen that too. And I'll get to Basil in a moment. I'm sure he has plenty to weigh in on this. But Hesher, your thoughts on this issue, just as it is presented here?
Well, ibogaine or ibogaine, I don't know how you pronounce it. It interacts with, from what I understand about it, it interacts with there's like these neurotransmitter systems in our bodies, and it affects the same ones that opioids, serotonin, and other weird things like NMDA and sigma and nicotinic acetylcholine receptors, these sort of like things. So it does interact with those kind of things that, we're talking about. But again, like scientists have been held back from doing appropriate studies on these for a long time. Like there's a lot of books about this out there, and there is science on it. There's enough science to warrant sort of an unchaining of this research so that we could figure out, if there is a safe and effective way to do this. But that's really not what American, it's not what the FDA is into. It's not, you know what I mean? Like what America likes to do with things like this is keep them on Schedule 1, keep effective and efficient research from happening, and then toy with the public and use it as, a tool. They can arrest you. It's like, Americans are so confused. It's like, oh, I can be arrested for doing this, or I could save my life from opioid addiction, right? Like, which is it? Or somewhere in the middle, oh, my hero podcaster is going to come tell my hero president, this information, like as though it's new. This information's been around for decades. Okay. Like many people have potentially lost their lives to drug addiction that could have benefited from this if it had been properly studied and, properly rolled out to the people and safely and stuff like that. Or if it's not safe, then we could just not be having this discussion all these years later. So, it's just ridiculous. And this is like, it's like fifth generational drug warfare. This is the fifth generational drug war right here, to be doing propaganda like this and toying with people who maybe could benefit from it. There's probably someone watching this show who's done ketamine or ibogaine and greatly benefited from it, maybe even saved their life. But then there's also people like
Elon.
Yeah, like all your micro dosing CEO tech bros. But I was gonna say micro dosing. Yeah, that's what they say. They like to say it's a micro dose, but when you do it all day every day, it's not micro dosing. But the guy from Friends that died in his hot tub,
Matthew Perry?
Matthew Perry, yeah, thank you. He died of ketamine overdoses, and he's someone that struggled with drug addiction and probably switched to ketamine. You know what I mean? Someone in the chat earlier said, oh, it's replacing one drug with another. Yeah, that's what you got to watch out for. People like Matthew Perry can die, because this information is not institutionalized and it's not done with human health and safety in mind. You know what I mean? And to Ruckus's point, this is about podcasting. This is about PR. This is about Joe Rogan being anointed as the one podcaster that Trump will now support. Like he's willing to toss away the millions of viewers and listeners of Candace, Alex, Megan, and whoever else he mentioned, Joe Kent, everybody. He's willing to throw all that away. And I would wager he's willing to throw that away for, the number 5 podcaster or whatever Joe is these days. So that, he'll stay on script at least. I can guarantee you at least he won't be having Tucker or Megan or Alex back on his show anytime soon, or he won't be getting invited back to the White House.
Is the guy with the beard, is that the new sort of LSD kingpin or something? Like who are these people? Like,
I mean, he was a wrestler.
Of course, might as well bring Kid Rock in just to sort of round it out. Ruckus, your thoughts on this issue, just generally? Good idea, bad idea? Do you think this government by podcast is a good thing? Any potential hazards here?
Oh, there's hazards with the mingling of the podcasting with the propaganda coming from the government, but we've been dealing with that already, so no difference there. Except, interestingly enough, a lot of those folks that were unbeknownst, allegedly to them, part of that machine have now been thrown under the bus themselves by one young whistleblower by the name of Ashley St. Clair. Perhaps we can get into that a little bit. But the thing is, yes, this is just a photo op. As far as what Hesher's talking about, I won't add to or subtract from that. I'll just say, I have a different take about all the drug stuff. I think the pharmaceuticals, for the most part, should be banned if that was possible, because most of them did not exist. They're created in labs. And so, however, all these natural things that they call drugs, and then they say, oh, you can't do it, or you can only do so much, or we're going to regulate it. Yeah, whatever, dude. I'm surrounded by a million things in my house that I legally purchased that I could misuse, abuse, or overuse, and it will kill me. You know what I mean? But I that's on me to not misuse, overuse, or abuse those items. So I think it's on each individual to do the same, not the government. Stay the F out of our business. That's how I feel about that kind of thing. And then, photo op, RFK Jr. looking uncomfortable. You guys are reading him completely wrong. I've been watching him for a while now. No, that's what RFK Jr. looks like when he's getting hangry. He's obviously clearly thinking about his next roadkill meal. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, he does have some bizarre dining habits. Basil, your thoughts on this issue? Good idea, bad idea? Psychedelics for the masses?
Well, I've worked out that expression on RFK's face. He's looking at the back of Trump's chair, thinking, "I should be in that chair, and perhaps I will be one day." I certainly haven't given up on that ambition. I think that's running through his veins. Ibogaine is extraordinary and very, very powerful stuff. I've heard one or two testimonies of people that have taken it, and it's almost supernatural in its power. I read about a guy who, having taken a dose which had no effect, this was at a sort of quasi-clinical environment. He then did a second dose, which had an enormous effect, and the substance itself was asking him to confirm his name, place of birth, and identity, as if he was in some kind of formal setting. The drug was, "Is this you? This is your name. This is where you were born." And mentally, he said yes, it was. And he was then shown a series of scenarios, key moments in his life where he'd made decisions in the past, and was given the opportunity to make a different decision in that moment. This was all, visualized in his head, all part of a grand hallucination, obviously. And he went through about half a dozen of these scenarios where he looked at crucial moments in his life and was given the chance to reflect on what he'd done, why he'd done it, and then make a different decision, and so on and so forth. And for him, it was a completely transformative experience. The way Joe Rogan talks about it there, it's as if it's a sort of just a magic pill, or just take it and, you'll stop wanting heroin or OxyContin or whatever it is you're addicted to. So it's a really, really bizarre and extraordinary substance, arguably more so than any other. And of course, should it be legalized, then in what setting is it going to be administered? Because there's a sacred element to these things. They should really be done in some kind of ritual or ceremony. Now, we know that with the ayahuasca, a lot of that's been sort of hijacked by venture capitalists one way or another.
Private equity.
Running these ayahuasca retreats and all the rest of it. Originally came in with the Church of Santa Daime and all that, and big flap about it 25.
Yeah, well, I think we lost Basil there for a moment. Can you guys see Basil yet, or no?
Beach ball. Somebody in the chat asked, "Is Basil British?" I'm thinking, whatever gave you that impression?
I know. Of course, that's not a British accent. No, he's Australian. Yeah, the wheel of death is turning there. We'll drop Basil down. He'll come back. But yeah, I mean, the thing about ayahuasca, you guys, is I don't know. It's not my thing. I know a lot of people who do it, who go to retreats, loads. Okay, and I've known them for years. I know the guy who introduced ayahuasca to Britain, who brought the shaman over from Peru. It was sort of legitimate at that time, but I found the people, at least Westerners, who do that, and I see them, and you'll see them like out on the lash, like a week later at a festival or in the pub. Oh, I did this ayahuasca retreat. It was great last night. Oh, you cleansed everything out. And you see them standing up at the bar, just knocking back drinks. And I'm like, what are you doing? But a lot of people who are heavy, drinkers or recreational drug users, they use that as a type of a cleanse, and then it just makes them ready and a clean slate just to go fill up again, basically. And some of the most unstable and confused and effed up people you can possibly meet. And so I don't think it's particularly good for them, because you see them years down the road, you're like, what happened to all that ayahuasca enlightenment? You're still like worse than you were before in some cases. So I think, what do you guys think about that? It can also be a type of a handicap as well. Any thoughts on that, you guys?
All the above. I mean, it's interesting, you'll meet some people and it's like they're super high functioning psychonauts. Like there are people out there that are high functioning psychonauts that do a lot of hallucinogenics throughout their life and seem to be fine. But then there's other people, like someone in the chat mentioned a young person that took LSD and didn't seem to come back to normal. And I've met that person too, not that specific
Sid
one.
Barrett.
But yeah, like, it's so hard to say. It's one of those things, I think, that like a person should not undertake as a light thing, or, something that's not dangerous or has profound effects. Many people will say, yeah, the effects are profound, and I found them profoundly positive. And then you have a lot of people that do a lot to a certain age and then stop, and then seem to be very normal, well-adjusted people. But then you have like, I mean, I knew a guy in high school that took like a sheet of LSD and never came back. I mean, this guy was just like the quintessential like burnt out deadhead, you know what I mean? Like, I'm glad I don't have to mention his name, because he is actually an archetype that especially people in California at a certain time, or on the dead circuit, know about. It's just like, yeah, that's that guy that's super fried out. So it's just, I don't know, for me, I'm real in the middle on it, and I don't like the government getting involved in it. I agree with Ruckus on that. The government should be out of this. And, but hey, we have a nanny state. They love having a nanny state. They love having drug wars and culture wars. And these are just great ways to do that, and if you look at the way the CIA has introduced drugs into certain cultural arenas and locations, and then, they'll change municipalities around those little things, and they'll change the laws around those things. I mean, it's a long game when it comes to the war on drugs. And, this is a lifelong inherent human thing to want to experience, in particular with plants and, stuff like that, what it can do to the mind. It's just something we're never going to get rid of.
Yeah. Here, Wandering Wolf again, pop psychonauts. I like that term, psychonauts. Is what you get when fast food mentality meets new age spiritual enlightenment. So true. I'm in total agreement with the Wandering Wolf on this. This sort of commercialization, this like everybody's got a shaman now, and I'm going to a ayahuasca retreat with glamping and all the rest of it. And come on, guys. I mean, so yeah, it's you've seen it all, haven't you, Basil? As you being the quintessential spiritual tourist who has spent time in all of these different camps and cults. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, yes, it's true that for a lot of people, psychedelics have kind of replaced what one might call authentic drug-free spirituality. There's no doubt about it. There was actually one named Karoli Baba, who was the guru of Ram Dass. He allowed his adherents to take LSD in the ashram. He called it the yogi medicine, but that was, back in the 1970s, obviously. Generally, though, authentic spirituality and hallucinogens are not part of the same overall path, shall we say. But having said that, at the same time, I wouldn't therefore necessarily want to invalidate experiences that people have under the influence, particularly of plants, and indeed there are whole spiritual systems, one of which seems to rather petered out in recent years, came out of Carlos Castaneda's books, The Teachings of Don Juan, the Mexican shaman that he was supposedly introduced to, and who introduced him to the hallucinogens there of the southwestern and Mexican deserts, which had a very profound effect on him. But after Carlos himself passed away, that whole path has rather sort of dissipated, shall we say, though I'm sure you can find adherents if you look hard enough. But the other thing about this case is that should the FDA approve this, should Joe Rogan start getting any purchase with the legalization of Ibogaine, then it opens the whole can of worms about natural remedies for all sorts of other things that have been buried since the Flexner report, which of course was the Rothschilds' way of, Rockefellers, I should say, although some people say one is a bad carrier for the others. But anyway, back in the 1920s, of getting health administrations to ban all natural medicines, everything from taking ginger for a headache or whatever you like, from the medical arena, and their replacement with oil-based, yes, petroleum-based pharmaceuticals, so that the Rockefellers could make more money out of their oil, and particularly the specialized, highly refined oils and organic compounds that comprise pharmaceutical products. If a natural substance like Ibogaine can be found to have profound medicinal qualities, then what else can? And the whole pharmaceutical industrial complex could completely unravel afterwards. That's the other big issue here.
The real reason RFK Jr. was looking uncomfortable during the whole thing, right?
Yeah,
right. Quite possibly, yeah.
He might have been microdosing. We don't know. Here, Rebecca has said, I had a friend in high school who took 7 hits and never came back. I don't know how he is today. Actually, he changed his name to J.D. Vance, and he's currently the vice president of the United States. So there you go, Rebecca. Hillbilly elegy. Hillbilly elegy.
For the conspiracy
I must
theories.
admit, having been around people who took a lot of ketamine a while ago, about 25 years ago, I only did it once or twice myself. The idea, they all began to sort of degenerate mentally and physically, with various issues. People used to say it turns your brain to Swiss cheese.
I know, look at Elon.
I have some considerable cognitive dissonance about a ketamine head being nominally at least the richest man on the planet, worth $800 or $900 billion or however much he's worth, because all the K heads I ever knew couldn't get up in the morning or string a sentence together. Ketamine and brew crew, they were known as,
Neither can Elon on most days, by the way. You've seen that guy try to string a sentence together. It's painful just watching him, rev up to say something. It's K heads. I've seen some horrific K disasters.
Yes.
I remember being at a party and seeing a star in a major soap opera just panting for their life down all fours, and just a crowd of people around trying to save this person who's having a bad trip on K. This was a couple of years ago. I can't tell you what program it was, but it was a British soap opera that's very popular, Basil. I was just shocked and horrified that it didn't look like a good reaction. Eventually, they came out of it. Saw them an hour later; they were fine. But it's just like, anyway. But
That
if you're
one,
the
ketamine seems to me from the outside looking in like one of those ones that a lot of people do end up trading a nasty, like, pharmaceutical addiction and opioid addiction in for, because you can't, there are legal, I mean, even on Facebook, they advertise ketamine clinics. Like, that's the thing. There's an industrial complex to be created here. Also, we should not fool ourselves, because you can, in many states, go get ketamine treatment for drug addiction, and it works for some people, but for other people, it ends up being sort of just a ping pong back and forth, right? Like they go down an avenue with their opioids or whatever, and then they want out, and then someone will hook them up with the ketamine clinic, and at the ketamine clinic, they're from what I understand about these ketamine clinics, it's much safer than hanging out with the people Basil's talking about, because they're actually testing you and regulating what you're doing. You have a doctor or a clinician of some sort overseeing the process. But like I said, a lot of people at the end of that process, they'll have a couple months of sobriety, but then when the voices kick in and the urges kick in, they go back to the street drug, and it creates a vicious cycle, right? So like, I don't know if ibogaine would be similar, but that is something that just I've observed about the ketamine people and the ketamine.
I mean, people also take cocktails of ketamine and cocaine. That's a favorite line, the line that's a mixture of ketamine and cocaine. And
ooh, that sounds dangerous.
Yeah, well, what ketamine does is, because of course it came up in the business as a horse tranquilizer.
Exactly. It's a horse tranquilizer.
Yeah, I mean, it really was
powerful.
not like that's right, not like the one, of course, that was so denigrated during the COVID era. What was that stuff?
That was a horse dewormer, ivermectin. So right. Rogan likes all of these horse products. He's into all of them.
What ketamine does, the way it tranquilizes a horse or a human being for that matter, is that it forces you to have an out-of-body experience for the length of the duration, which is called a K-hole, so to speak. So it disassociates the mind, and some people would say whatever other aspects of yourself you've got, your spirit or soul, it kicks them out of the physical body in a very abrupt way. Kick, get out, and that's a trip, of its own kind, very different kind of trip from an LSD trip, which is psychedelic and kind of creates new neuron pathways in the brain, and you start seeing all sorts of things that aren't really there, or certainly can't be seen unless you're under the influence of lysergic acid. But ketamine's something else altogether. It does a different thing to you. So
here's a guru weighing in here, 0 Point Zap, saying, I've tried every hallucinogen on the planet. You can do LSD, mushrooms, and ayahuasca all day long, and it won't kill you. That's his personal experience, of course. Ibogaine will kill you from the intense detox. What do you guys think of that? This is from somebody who apparently has tried every hallucinogen known to man.
Well, he's right that those things won't kill you. They won't. You can't die from LSD, but you can ruin your brain permanently. Look at Syd Barrett, the lead songwriter of Pink Floyd. He never came back. People say he was spiked. Oh, I saw a little wry expression there, Ruckus, when I mentioned Sid's name. Do you have a particular perspective on it? People say he was spiked.
Syd Barrett, Pink Floyd.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms. I don't want to get into it. We talked about so many drugs now. I forget which one it was that Joe Rogan was advocating for. It was that one that they said can kill you, right? Ibogaine. Or was there a whole class of drugs that this covers? I can't.
Well, you do end up sort of in a class of plant drugs, and some of these drugs require like you to take uptake inhibitors or something like that. Like there's certain, you know what I mean? It's not just like Rogan makes it sound like, oh, you just take this and you're cured. It's not like that. Like with ibogaine in particular and ketamine, this entire family. Even ayahuasca, right? Like you kind of need a little bit of guidance with it. And some of these things require, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're going to do like ibogaine or DMT or something like that, I think you're not supposed to be like packing in a bunch of cheese before you do it, you know? And some of these drugs, you actually have to take like some kind of uptake inhibitor or something like that for it to get its full effect. And yes, some of them will have like a post experience detox, or there's a detox that maybe is recommended before the experience. You know, this isn't the kind of stuff you just like go, oh yeah, I'll get you FDA clearance on that.
And then also, real quick, because I'm a fan of Bill Cooper, you all know that during his Mystery Babylon series, one of these ancient secret societies that never really went away, I can't remember which one, so I'm not even going to pretend. But in the story, a very fascinating story that Bill Cooper discussed, a fact, historically speaking here, the leader of this group, they used one of these drugs, I'm pretty sure it was ayahuasca, to drug a person, make it seem like they had died. All their friends thought that their buddy had died, but then he cut a hole in a plate and in the table and put the guy in there, and he woke up and he was talking, but everybody thought he was dead and that they were hanging out on this drugs, having a big party with the dead guy decapitated. And then after the party, they would really kill the guy and say, oh yeah, here's your buddy you were just talking to. And they're like, oh, it's his dead head. So they used these drugs to really mind F with people back in the day.
That's really messed up.
Yeah.
That's really messed up. Seriously. Here, Raybo says you should do some research. Cheese is actually a drug. Who knew? The cheese section at Whole Foods.
Yeah, I've actually been looking at that research lately, and it is a little bit disturbing. I don't know if you're talking about actual cheese or the new fake cheese out there, which is
well, it kind of explains why a lot of French people, you know, are completely off their heads all the time. Maybe it's the cheese, you know. Yeah.
When I said serotonin uptake inhibitor, I meant MAO inhibitor, a monoamine oxidase inhibitor. I misspoke.
Okay, you guys, we're going to pivot hard here. We could go on. We could do a whole, just a probably, I don't know, a 72-hour continuous live stream talking about psychedelics, possibly on
psychedelics. I could go for a week, you guys.
It would be sort of sampling psychedelics during that. Not that we're into that, but I'm just theoretically saying there's probably people that are doing this on live streams anyway. But so Elon Musk tweeted something out, and I've caught him red-handed, guys. I've got Elon banged to rights. He tweeted this out today, and I think the mask is off. Tell me what you think, you guys. Here. So Elon says universal high income via checks issued by the federal government is the best way to deal with the unemployment caused by AI. He tweeted this out on April 16th. AI robotics will produce goods and services far in excess of the increase in money supply, so there will not be inflation, says Elon Musk. So UBI. So this is the conservative Elon Musk who was a technocrat, liberal, socialist his whole life, and suddenly became a conservative like 3 months before the 2024 election. So I'm saying the mask is off. This WF globalist and career Democrat has been LARPing as conservative in order to secure his share of the new dystopian technocracy economy. Government contracts, again. So this is the guy that is rich because of the government, but he's the one that was front-running Doge, saying we need to cut federal spending. Remember all that? Trump's on target to go 2.7 trillion over budget in his first year. 2.7 trillion, the highest ever. Yeah, there he is. Doge. Ruckus got that up there. Yeah, Doge. What do you guys think of this? I mean, we've got him kind of banged to rights here. This is the end game. He's pushing UBI now.
I've got to dissent, Patrick. In essence, I agree with him. I mean, if AI and robotics are indeed capable of producing all the goods and services we need, so long as important human contact services like going to the doctor and other things like what we're doing here on the internet, so long as they stay human being, then there isn't really any alternative to this, because there are going to be far fewer jobs in 20, 30 years' time, maybe a lot less, you know. I've always said, as a Keynesian economist, there's no shortage of money. It's just simply who you choose to distribute it to, you know. particularly in this era. So I don't know what the alternative there is to some kind of universal basic income, whether it's high income or low income, because all the indications are that there are going to be millions and millions of people who are currently doing jobs that can be replaced by AI. Now that all our favorite gurus, Tony Robbins, who I realized this week has an unfeasibly large head. I don't just mean he's a big head, but anyway, he was saying, look, if you don't use AI, you're not going to be replaced by AI, but you're going to be replaced by somebody who knows how to use AI or knows how to use it better than you. And there's certainly going to be a large amount of that. But I'd rather see, money redistributed and paid to people as universal basic income than see it spent on weapons for the Israeli government or anything like that. And as I say, if you've got AI companies, robotics companies, manufacturers using robotics, making vast profits, where are all those profits going to go? Do they just go to shareholders? Well, what if you don't own shares in that company and you've never had the income to buy shares in that company? So the government taxes the profits that these companies.
Do you really trust these people, though? Do you really trust that it's going to go down like this, or are they going to basically?
I'm not saying
are they going to restrict the flow? Are they going to restrict the flow of your UBI based on how well behaved you are?
Well, that's a different matter. If you start introducing all these other caveats about social engineering and requiring people to behave in certain ways or monitoring their social media to determine whether or not they get this universal basic income, that's another whole set of parameters. I'm talking about it purely from the point of view, the economics and the redistribution of wealth.
Theoretically, yeah. Well, you're talking theory. You're talking theory. I'm talking practical.
I'm an economist.
I know what these maniacs are capable of. Hesher and Ruckus, what are your thoughts on this this reveal by Elon?
I will say on April 16th, that was the first thing I saw in my feed when I opened my feed. I was like, not only is he here saying this about UBI, but it's elevated to the absolute top of my feed, even though I don't follow him. Okay, so I had to pause and look at it, and it was just like, of course, this is not a surprise to me at all. He would like our universal basic income to be doled out in the format of X stable coins that can only be used on X. And of course, will I be able to go buy some 9mm ammo with those stable coins on my little X dollars? I kind of doubt it. Will I even have access to my X dollars after this broadcast? I don't know.
The answer is in Photons giving you the answer right down there in the comments. Look at that, Hesher.
Paid in K. Someone else said, I can't see that. I don't know where the comment went, but someone said, you won't get your UBI unless you take your Ebo gain.
Very good.
And you can imagine you've got more UBI than you know what to do with in the alternative universe. Ruckus, your thoughts on this, the mask off moment here from Technocracy Inc. himself, Elon Musk?
Old news. I don't get it. They're doing it again. Like this week is famous for this. Like, all the news that was important news like last year is all of a sudden new again, or like, I had no idea. He was like, dude, what is happening here? It's like, well, wow. I mean, okay. Anyways, so yes, why is he talking about this again now when he's been talking about this for quite some time? And the first time he said it was the jaw drop moment that I thought we talked about it already. But he got up there and he said some things about the universal high income based on the fact that everybody's going to own a robot. And in that same talk, he said also, and it'll be like we don't even need prisons anymore. Because, once you get your free robot in your house, who's going to misbehave? So I'm like, wait, what the hello? Yes. So yeah, this guy's a total Looney Tune. None of this makes any sense to me. I really don't understand, how the world works right now with everybody being obsessed about pushing around pieces of paper. Sure, it's going to a digital version now, but I don't think they can just give it away for free. I don't believe this idea that they can just give away a basic income and expect everyone to jump through some sort of social hoops. What happens to the military-industrial complex? None of this makes sense. The whole world is operated by greed and lust and the quest for money. If they're going to replace that, I don't see this as it. And in fact, what I see them doing is that if they're going to end that system, they're going to end us. That's why they're building all the robots and the machines to keep things running when they get rid of us. Because I think that we are the equation. There's no high income coming for us. The high income is for these people. That's all. That's my wild theory. I'm sticking to it. Just saying.
So, do you think Elon Musk was under the influence of some ibogaine or some other substance K when he made this tweet? This is a legitimate question. When is Elon under the influence, and when is he not under the influence? How much of Elon that we see is drug induced, especially on social media?
It's an AI agent. They probably did a set it and forget it for most of the things that this guy actually tweets. When Elon himself actually sees something and tweets it, it's the one-worded thing, or the emoji, where it's like, whoa, cool. That's a post from Elon Musk. All these other ones, I think these are pre-templated out, made for him and pumped out. That's my suggestion. And I think it's an old recycled post too. That's another thing. I bet you can find one that's very similar, just the words in a different area. So I think that's
true. He's recycling all of the South Africa white genocide posts this past week, which is bizarre. And then Trump was commenting. So there must be some announcement about South Africa coming up, but basically that's been debunked.
Or these people bunkered up, because I've seen this theory out there too. Like some people are saying about a lot of large prominent people, how come these people are acting differently than they used to not that long ago? And I'm like, well, maybe they all went underground because they're about to do the World War III thing. You never know. Or
maybe.
Aliens. Who knows?
He's pumping his market share, no different than his Mars announcement. He knows how to trigger people like Trump. True. The Mars announcement. Yeah. How's that going? Remember when Elon was constantly tweeting out pictures of like cities on Mars and like this was going to happen next year kind of thing? I don't know. How are we? They told us NASA said Artemis isn't going to be landing on the moon anytime soon. I don't think it's going to be a Mars mission anytime soon. That's just me. And as I said, Elon's greatest fear would be to finally arrive at Mars, ready to, rock up and build the city and stuff. And then the Martians show up and they're all black. That is Elon's biggest fear. This is what keeps him up at night. Mars is populated with black people. So this would really upset Elon, I think, a great deal. But anyway,
I bet Grok does all of his tweets. I mean, it's his toy, right? He owns Grok. I'm sure the version of Grok that Elon sits around and talks to is like a completely different animal than the one that us plebs are playing with. I wouldn't be surprised if it's just Grok that speaks for Elon.
Absolutely. We've got a special guest on the show this week, guys. Joe Biden is joining us. Hello, Joe. Wake up. No, just kidding. Sorry, Basil was snoozing for a moment there. So we got your take on
a fan. Actually, I was replying to a fan.
We got your take on the you guys. There's so much. Well, look, I will humor Basil's request on the Tucker Carlson clip. However, I'm going to do we'll listen to this. This is Tucker Carlson, and I want to get your guys' comments on this. This will be our final item here, but I think this is significant because we've had this debate in the UK about the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, but we haven't had this debate in America. Like, it hasn't reached the United States. This whole debate
we haven't had a proper debate about it in the UK either. We've had it sort of rammed down our throats, and we've had all sorts of announcements.
Civic religion.
Okay, so here's Tucker. And I think the opening line is very appropriate. In fact, that's probably the most important part of this. But let's listen to this for a couple minutes. I want to get your guys' comments on it.
We have a whole new civic religion. And that civic religion, once again, is called Israelism. And it means that any criticism of Israel is by definition bad, and any praise of Israel is by definition virtuous, because the only truly good thing is Israel. And we know that by the actual definition, and there is one, of anti-Semitism. So what is anti-Semitism? And if you've been called it, or if someone's ever implied it, you have a problem with the Jews. You're kind of obsessed with the Jews. Say people who are completely obsessed with the Jews. You probably wonder, like, what are they accusing me of? Well, here it is. This is the IHRA, International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, IHRA. You may hear this. The IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. Do you know what it is? It's on their website. It's worth looking at. Spent the morning reading it. Fascinating. So here's the actual definition of anti-Semitism. And by the way, this is a now globally recognized definition enshrined in law around the world in more than 40 countries. This is the definition, and I'm quoting. Anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews, which may be expressed as hatred towards Jews. Huh? So anti-Semitism is a perception. It's a feeling. Okay. I thought you're allowed to have any feeling or perception you wanted. You could look at facts and come to any conclusion you wanted. No. Certain perceptions are inherently immoral. They're, quote, anti-Semitic, which may be expressed as hatred towards Jews. Oh, so you don't have to hate the Jews to be anti-Semitic? No. Well, that answers the question for those of us who don't hate Jews at all. How could you be anti-Semitic if you don't hate Jews? Well, you can be, according to the official definition of it. Continuing the quote, rhetorical meaning talking, words, speech, formerly protected no longer, rhetorical and physical manifestations of anti-Semitism are directed toward Jewish or non-Jewish individuals and or their property, toward Jewish community institutions and religious facilities. Wait a second. So anti-Semitism is not necessarily hatred of Jews, and it can be expressed toward non-Jews. So you don't have to hate Jews, and you don't have to express or have these perceptions, these feelings toward Jews. You can be non-Jews too. What is this? Well, the people who wrote it at the IHRA probably anticipated this would be confusing to you. So they gave 11 examples of what anti-Semitism is, just so you know. Like, how do I know if I'm being anti-Semitic? Well, here are 11 examples. Of those 11 examples, and we did the math, 2/3 are criticism of Israel, the state of Israel, the nation, with the prime minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, Bibi. Criticism of Israel in 2/3 of the examples that the IHRA gave, that's anti-Semitism, including, here we go, drawing comparisons of contemporary Israeli policy to that of the Nazis. Oh, in other words, if you think what's happening in Gaza is genocide, well, Nazis committed genocide. Now the state of Israel is committing genocide in Gaza, meaning they're trying to eliminate people on the basis of their blood. You are an anti-Semite.
And if you try to make that argument, you're an anti-Semitic, which is a terrible thing to be. So there it is, Basil. That's Tucker bringing the issue up for everybody in all of its gory details there. Just quickly, before you answer that, Basil, I just want to throw this quickly. This is just red meat for Hesher here. Ashley Taylor, 89. Tucker Carlson, who says he knows no Americans killed of Islamic terrorism since 9/11. San Bernardino, Boston Marathon. He says he's making the point that Islamic terrorists killed people in San Bernardino in the Boston Marathon. That's what one of our listeners, Hesher, and I probably going to beg to differ with you on that. But go look at the Daily Shooter files at 21stcenturywire.com. We'll come back to that. We'll circle back to that issue in the future, of course. But I thought I'd just flag that because you'd certainly get a kick out of that, Hesher.
Yeah, look a little deeper is all I'll say for now, but watch this space. We'll talk about it in more detail soon.
So, Basil, antiseptic or anti-semantic or anti-Semitic, I can't work out which one it is, but yeah, I'm a proud anti-semantic. Your thoughts on Tucker saying the unsayable, breaching the great wall of Jericho? What do you think?
But first of all, Islamic terrorists had nothing to do with 9/11, but nothing whatsoever. But it's great that Tucker is finally giving an airing to this subject. I think it's going to end up in the Supreme Court in the United States sooner or later, because I think 40 states have already adopted the so-called IHRA definition. Tucker made the mistake of saying it's official. It's only official if institutions or bodies decide to adopt it or have it imposed upon them. As I said in the UK column on Friday, I was naive enough to think that after the International Court of Justice ruled that there was a probable cause for genocide, that one of the other examples, which is that Israel can be singled out for criticism, would mean that surely the IHRA definition was now in the bin where it belongs forever. But no, it's like a zombie. It keeps soldiering on, now foisting it on the National Health Service in Britain and forcing compulsory so-called anti-Semitism training in various areas of public life. And you've got that coming in the United States as well, I can assure you. So I'm very glad that, the issue, the whole issue, which has been much more in the public eye in the UK because of the, again, the forcing of the IHRA definition on the Labour Party under Jeremy Corbyn. It still wasn't enough, of course, for to save his political skin. But in the US, it's always been quietly slipped through the State House. Do you know what I mean? And signed into state law and what have you. And I think it means, what does it mean in practice? I think it means that as a state employee or something that you can't say anything contradictory to the IHRA definition or you're likely to be sacked. You still have the First Amendment. So surely it's completely trumped, pardon the pun, by that, which is why I say it'll end up in the Supreme Court sooner or later. But fair play to Tucker, and taking this head on. He's going deeper and deeper into the whole Israelism issue. And later in that monologue, or was the one he was published this morning, he upbraided his former Fox News colleague, Sean Hannity, for questioning whether the Pope had read the Bible and quoting a couple of Old Testament references to war. Doesn't the Pope know that the Bible is full of wars and all the rest of it? And Tucker rightly points out that that is not the message of Christianity. That nowhere in the New Testament, in the pronouncements of Jesus Christ, in the Gospels, or in the letters that followed, does it give you permission to kill somebody you disagree with or who is of a different religion or anything like that. Any of the things that the Trump administration and other so-called Christian Zionists are about. And it was a real dressing down, and we need a lot more of it. And what Tucker accurately points out is that people like Hannity are not Christians, they're Israelists. And that's, he says, that's fine, but be honest about it. Don't use this veneer of Christianity stripped of the New Testament as somehow, a valid Christian position. So fair play to him. These issues have been bubbling under the surface. You could say that the, Zionists versus Catholic issue has been under the surface for the last 100 years. And while Israel was sort of at least vaguely, doing the right-ish sort of thing, while it was still a slow motion genocide.
What was that all about?
Well, that was just
so being like Anna Kasparian for a moment there, doing the whole wringing your hands like the mem. So if I agree.
Go on. Since the last couple of years with the accelerated genocide, then the old tensions have been brought to the fore. That's what I was going to say.
I agree. It's bubbling under the surface, but if you deny that, you are anti-seismic. If you deny what is bubbling under the surface, you're anti-seismic. Thought you'd appreciate that one. We need to do our own working definition, Basil. I think that's what's needed. We need a new working definition. Let's launch a website. Keep an up-to-date working definition going.
I do have a slight concern about this because it reminds me of something we all went through during 2020. where folks like us, the independent media, were saying the important things from the beginning, but then it took there were a few people that came to the game a little late, but then they became the face of the game. One example would be RFK Jr. Like, oh, this guy is saying all the sensible things and he makes sense and he's the outsider. And then the dude even ran for president and then he didn't. And then he became part of the administration. And now he's basically playing cover for Big Pharma. I'm worried that these players that we're agreeing with now are going to be somehow set up to do the same kind of thing in the next, iteration down the road. Same thing with like a Joe Kent character coming out. There's like Tulsi Gabbard was doing and saying all the things that guy was during the,
not really. I don't know that.
Okay.
I wouldn't compare those two. I think, look, Joe Kent's record is gold at the moment. So until it's not gold, we can criticize him. But if we automatically suspect that he is nefarious when he hasn't done anything nefarious as such, he's actually done something, in my opinion, that's pretty good. But RFK is a different story. He's literally super glued to Rabbi Shmuley, among other things. So this is RFK to me is a very complex individual, to put it.
Okay, so now
I think Tucker's an honest
Hold on, Ruckus.
The CIA stuff, and then that gets to be the like, oh, what's going on with this stuff in the background?
Are you talking about RFK?
No, Tucker.
I was
just using RFK as an example, but you said, he's got his attachment with the shady history with the Israel lobby and all that stuff, right? And Zionism. Well, Tucker and all of these podcasters, me and Hesher talk about this all the time on Boiler Room. It's the CIA connection that has us all like, what's going on here with that? So again, I can't trust any of these people. And yes, they're saying the right things now, but a lot of people that we trusted not that long ago who were saying the right things at the time turned out to be they were doing it to lead us down the wrong path. I'm just saying we all got to be careful with a lot of this stuff.
Of course, but you have to. I think we have to be also even-handed because we're still in. Everything is political, so obviously you're going to applaud something that's going to be positive, and you're going to criticize something that's going to be negative. And if we, calling balls and strikes, as they say. So I want to be calling strikes on people that haven't swung and missed or haven't committed any strikes, but when they do, we have to be there to obviously criticize them. But all your points are taken on board, Ruckus. Yes, as Reagan said, trust but verify. Guys, we're going to run down the clock now, down to the final moments. This is a Noahide move, says Andrew Podmore. Do I want to play that Ben Shapiro clip about the Noahide laws or not? I think let's end it on a positive. I don't want to show Ben Shapiro at the end of the program.
I can't handle his eyebrows again.
Here you go, Ruckus. Trust no one, says Runin of the Scissors 13 with the They Live
X-Files
moment there. Yes. So, yeah, a lot of people are agreeing with you, Ruckus, on this. Yes, we have a lot of very skeptical people, let's just say, in our chat rooms. They're not buying anything from anybody. So there we are.
That being said, I'm far more interested in, okay, where does this lead? Where do the actual solutions take place? Or are we just going to keep playing politics, keep kicking the cans down the road? I mean, things were very different 250 years ago when we created and fought back, against the tyranny and created this country because we believed in something. We had like a foundation and morality and all these things that have now gone out the window. And we were discussing how clownish this administration looks. So you can pull up some old speeches of like, even as far back, not that long ago, JFK, but you go back to like, pull up any old speeches made by any president and then look at the way Donald Trump is. Look at even the way Joe Biden and, Kamala when she was running. None of this is like the way it should have been and has been. So it's like, I'm very, very worried about where we're headed here, guys.
I'm very worried about the mental state of some people in our comment sections, the things that people are saying now. So it's descending into an absolute maelstrom of crazies. We have touched on some subjects here. We've hit on the third rail, and now it's just going downhill from here, folks. So, yeah, we could easily go back to the drugs right now. That's pretty safe. But anyway, we'll leave it there. Your final thoughts and the week ahead. And by the way, Hesher invited me on the Boiler Room, but I didn't see the message until after the broadcast, so I apologize for that. But
no worries, it probably would have been too long. We ended up going like 3.5 hours, so I know you were busy that day.
But thank you very much. Listen, on the live stream, 3,800 people on the aggregate live stream. That's one of the highest uptakes we've had, and so that's good. And we've had over 3,000 comments on comment stream during the show. That's incredible. So yeah, you guys.
And everybody
awesome.
liked the stream, right? Everybody hit the thumbs up and the subscribe. I'm sure you all did that.
That's right, exactly. Hesher, guys, like and subscribe on this stream on 21st Century Warriors YouTube channel. We really, really appreciate if you can do that. I know you're watching. Love the engagement. Like this program and hit subscribe on our channel, please. That's going to help us break through some of this algorithmic suppression that we are constantly experiencing on these Alphabet-owned channels and platforms. But go ahead, take it away, Hesher, and then Ruckus and Basil.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks everybody out there for hanging with us for Sunday Wire this week. If you missed Boiler Room, we did it on Friday night. It's up at the alternatecurrentradio.com website. This one last quickie for you guys to close me out, and of course we'll be back with another Boiler Room on this coming Friday. But out of timesofisrael.com, on Israel's Holocaust Remembrance Day, Zelensky criminalizes anti-Semitism in Ukraine. So legislation known as Law Number 2037-IX incorporates anti-Semitic offenses directly into Ukraine's criminal code, punishable by up to 8 years in prison. 8 years in prison for too much anti-Septicism in Ukraine, where, a lot of global tax dollars have gone to create freedom, right?
That's it. The Board of Deputies in Kiev, the Ukrainian branch, has spoken, Basil. Should we have our own Board of Deputies? Deputies of what? It sounds like they're the deputies of society. The Board of Deputies. I mean, come on. Anyway.
Well, there was a surprising pronouncement from the Board of Deputies of British Jews in the UK, actually criticising the Israeli government, saying that it was becoming increasingly difficult to defend the indefensible. But, I don't know how if they'll pursue that to any meaningful degree. So
I guess they'll have to arrest the Azov battalion, says Lesima 8952. Yeah, Zelensky's got a little bit of a problem there. Maybe they've cleansed the Azov battalion. They've sent them to re-educate. Imagine sending Nazis to re-education camp. Anyway, Ruckus, your final thoughts. What's happening this week on your side of the media universe?
Yeah, just a lot of the similar kind of stuff we've been discussing here on Sunday Wire is what I discussed with Sam Cheney, usually Wednesday nights over at Weaponized News. So make sure you're checking me out over there. If you missed that, you can always find the replays of those under the Roundabout Ruckus moniker up at alternatecurrentradio.com. That's this one. This was my most recent episode right here. We discussed like taxes and how your money's being used to, fund the war machine and propaganda and all that fun stuff, which is similar topics to what we discuss at Boiler Room and Sunday Wire. All of those programs, of course, can be found at alternatecurrentradio.com, as well as our friends and colleagues, the Mystical American Patriot Society, do their thing, as well as our friend and colleague Odd Man Out. He's been pumping them out. I have a brand new one from him I'm going to put up on the website today, but there is another one. There it is. So check out I Ran Aside from our friend and colleague Odd Man Out over there at alternatecurrentradio.com. Real quick, you guys were discussing about the Antichrist thing. I just wanted to put my 2 cents into this as a Christian myself, who has a different take than the Christian Zionists interpretation of the Antichrist, which is what they usually think of as when, the Antichrist, that's what they're saying. Trump is the Antichrist. Well, if you learn about the Antichrist, you learn maybe that might be a historical figure from the past, and that's come and gone. But it's very interesting that these many Antichrists who keep appearing in our lives, this one in particular, Trump, likes to troll everybody by being as close to the actual Antichrist that the Bible describes as much as possible. It's almost like it's on purpose, like he's just trolling everybody. And I wonder if that's what he's doing sometimes. But anyways, that's on each of you to decide for yourself, because as Bill Cooper taught us, read everything, listen to everybody, but don't believe anything unless you prove it for yourself with your own research. And thanks for having me, Patrick.
No, our pleasure. Thank you very much. Adam Clark, also known as Ruckus. Answer to your question about Trump, as Forrest Gump famously said, stupid is as stupid does. So perhaps has something to do with that. Basil Valentine, your final thoughts before we cycle out.
Well, Mady, the 9530, mentioning Dan Bilzerian, who's running in Florida. I didn't realize that he'd been a huge success in various things in life before taking up the shield of truth and and the sword of honor against Randy Fine. I've no idea how his campaign is going. He got into an awful lot of trouble for describing Fine as a fat Jew. Well, he is Jewish and he's grotesquely overweight. So
he's lost weight though. He's lost weight. So technically, you might get him on the fat shaming, possibly. Not on the other one, but on the weight. Yeah, maybe.
Laughing there, Hesher. I mean, is it? Are we allowed to put any derogatory adjective in front of the word Jew to describe without it being anti-Semitic? You see, I mean, I could call you a stupid American, Patrick, and I'm sure nobody would say that was an anti-American or anti-white sentiment,
or a greedy American, or or an annoying American. I mean, they're going to probably. You remember that they're going to have to cancel that cartoon Deputy Dog, because that could be deemed as anti-Semitic, right? Deputy Dog, Board of Deputies. Maybe, I don't know. There's no end. It never ends. Randy Fine, a fine individual, a fine man.
In name only.
Randy Fine.
In name only.
The sick part about.
I mean,
go ahead.
It's the stirrings. We've got AZAPAC now, haven't we? The American Anti-Zionist Political Action Committee is supporting They actually define Zionism very narrowly as being sort of overt support for Israel and wishing to continue to send money and weapons to Israel. But there was that vote in Congress last week, wasn't there, where quite a number of Democrats voted against any further support. The whole AIPAC label is finally becoming toxic, and the debate has woken up, at least in the United States, and hopefully more people, as Ruckus said, will do their own research about exactly what. I mean, the story that came out this week about the Israelis training dogs to rape prisoners.
Oof.
Did you see that?
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, it's stuff we knew.
Yeah. I mean, mass rape of prisoners, but forced bestiality, that's really off the charts, isn't it?
That's not new. It's not new news. That's been around, right. but it is good to see more people knowing about this stuff. They've covered all this up for years.
Oh, but it's a blood libel.
NGOs have been unearthing this for years in their dungeon system. I can't even call it prison system because none of these people receive any proper trial or anything like that.
That's right.
It's all military courts, secret, no juries, secret evidence, all this other stuff. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Chris Williamson, who's a colleague on Palestine Declassified, sent me a tweet this week. I don't know if it can be verified that 2 teenage boys are going to be sentenced to death by electrocution for throwing stones at the IDF. But it's worth remembering that I've seen a couple of representatives of the prisoners saying that, of the Palestinian prisoners, on hearing that the death penalty would be now introduced, that it would be welcomed by most prisoners. It would be welcomed by most prisoners because the conditions and the torture they're enduring are worse than death.
So it's only right to execute them according to the Zionist fanatic European settler colonialists, right?
That's right.
Yeah, but
So-
okay, yeah. Well,
let's end on a positive note, though. So, positive note. I remember, I think it was about 5 years ago now, that I tipped a horse in the 2000 Guineas on this program. Kamiko, who duly bolted up at 10-1. And the race is in 2 weeks' time. It's 2 weeks from yesterday. And this year I'm putting up Oxagon, trained by John Frankel, a son of John, trained by John Gosden, a son of Frankel the Wonder Horse. I'm sure you remember him. Patrick.
Frankel, yeah, Frankel.
One of
Never
his
lose.
offspring. That's right, never beaten. One of his offspring, Oxagon, runs in the 2000 Guineas a week on Saturday. 16-1, go each way on the day.
It's worth a $5.
$5 each way, Saturday week.
Oxagon, $5 each way, says Basil Valentine, folks. Line up, get your bets in before post time. 5 minutes till post time.
Please gamble responsibly.
Yeah, gamble responsibly. Trying to corrupt everybody. That's our roving correspondent for culture and sport, Basil Valentine. I thought I'd highlight this comment, you guys. This is from Herb2968. Why doesn't Patrick mention Albert Pike's letter on the planned 3 world wars? Is he ignorant or just controlled opposition? That's not much of a question, is it? There's not much available there. I'm either ignorant or controlled opposition. Either way, I'm guilty according to Herb. So I apologize. We can't cover every single bit of research and conspiracy lore because we have limited time. But what I'm doing is giving you the airtime by putting that comment up to prove that I'm not controlled opposition. So there you are. There you go, Herb. Everyone knows about Albert Pike's letter on the planned 3 world wars. I mean, some people say that Albert Pike was like a broken clock, and he made so many predictions and so many things that eventually they're going to come true. Other people say, no, that's the roadmap. That's the Masonic roadmap for Armageddon. Either way, if you buy into this too religiously yourself, then you become despondent, and everything is basically a fait accompli, and you can't do anything about it.
Right.
It's very disempowering. But
Well
that's just
said.
another way of looking at it. This is why I don't use Albert Pike as or other sort of Nostradamus or whatever as my roadmap in life. Nor do I believe in. I believe in self-fulfilling prophecies, not prophecies on their own. So there we are.
Pretty sure we did talk about it like 15 years ago too, and then again 12 years ago.
Yeah, we red-pilled on this about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So we apologize. We haven't revisited it, but yeah. So I'm sorry about that. But yeah, no. Well, whatever. Controlled opposition. Who's controlling me? That's the big conspiracy question. If I am controlled opposition, who the hell is controlling me? Patrick, thanks for the great panel discussion. Yeah, lots of good positive comments here. Big up. MAGA's dead. MAGA lives on. That's right. Like a zombie. And thank you guys. Trump is a big fan of the death. I mean, I'm going to not put all of these comments up on, but there you go. Yeah, there's some hard, heated debates going on in the comment threads this week, you guys. It's very healthy. It's very healthy indeed. Good to see that. Oh my gosh, I could just go on and on. The Randy Fine stuff's coming in here. I just one last one here. This is just Seamus Warren. Randy Fine brands himself as the Hebrew Hammer. So he's saying it. It's not us. The Hebrew Hammer. But Max Blumenthal says Fine is more of a Hebrew heifer. I thought I was going to say Hebrew Hitler, but that would be, again, anti-Semitic. Well done, Seamus. Appreciate your one there. That's funny. The Hebrew Hammer. I can't unsee that. When I see Randy Fine, I'm just going to think Hebrew hammer. That's
I'm going to think Hebrew heifer. I can promise you.
Hebrew heifer. Jeez. Oh my goodness. Thank you very much, you guys. Awesome. Alternate Current Radio. There's a link on the show page at 21stcenturywire.com. And just go to alternatecurrentradio.com. You'll see all of the content there. Ruckus put that on screen one last time. And as I said, it's the most beautiful website on the internet. Itself is a digital experience like no other. Surfing on the ACR website is a pleasure. It's very, very pleasing on the eye. Let's just put it that way. So go to Alternate Current Radio, and it'll get you access to a lot of things, including a great community of people, like-minded people. You'll find it all there. Thank you, gentlemen. Take care. Have a great week.
Let's just remind people that you and I are on UK Column on Fridays at 1 p.m. UK time.
That's right.
Friday, 1 p.m. UK, me and Patrick.
If you want to see Basil Valentine and I together Fridays on the ukcolumn.org at 1 p.m. UK time, enjoying my tag team experience with Basil Valentine there. We're covering a lot of important stories, and Basil's doing tremendous work as usual. So look forward to that on Fridays. Gentlemen, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will see you all very soon. It's been an absolute pleasure. There you go. There's three scholars and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, on our program. Really appreciate the work that they're doing and the commentary that they've given us today. That's all we've got time for. This is the Sunday Wire. We are live streaming out on X, Rumble, Facebook Live, also BitChute Live, as well afterwards on the audio streams, mainly iTunes and Spotify, plus about 20 or 30 others where we syndicate this podcast on all these different platforms as well. So again, thank you guys for your support, ongoing support. And we're going to read out some names, first names, of course, but of some of the people who've donated and subscribed in the last 2 weeks. We'll do that next Sunday. And it's been a fantastic response. Really appreciate some of you guys. A lot of new listeners have come on board, and new people have subscribed to 21wire.tv. We'll talk more about the content and what 21wire.tv is all about, the community. And we really appreciate you guys. That's how you can support us on a monthly basis. It's not expensive, but it goes a long way, and it makes a big difference for the work that we're doing. So listen, that's all we've got time for. This is Patrick Henningsen. You have been listening to episode and watching episode 591 of this weekly omnibus news analysis radio and TV program, The Sunday Wire. We're just touching on the issues, folks. So go to 21stcenturywire.com during the week for in-depth reporting. Freddie Ponton is doing a tremendous job as our associate editor of global affairs at 21 Wire. And of course, if you missed any of the podcasts or any of the episodes, just go to our archive up there at 21st Century Wire, Sunday Wire. And again, every Sunday, 12 till 3 Eastern, 5 till 8 UK time. Find us, watch us, share, like, and subscribe, especially on YouTube. Got a lot more stuff we're going to be posting later today and tomorrow on our website, so do keep an eye out for that. But again, that's all we've got time for today. This is your host, Patrick Henningsen, signing out. Another great track from the Real Anthem Band. And a big shout out to their lead singer, Sean, who has supplied us with these new tracks from the new, well, soon to be released new album. But again, great friend of the show and of 21st Century Wire. And we'll go out with Heaven Come Down, another new track from the Real Anthem Band. Take care, you guys. Have a great week. We'll see you soon.
Show you'll soon see. Hey, here we are. Heaven come down. Here we are. Heaven come down. Come down.
Nobody here wants your war. We see through it all and we know the score. You saw yourself off just like before, chasing the ghost of something more. More money, more death, more greed makes the children bleed. More oil, more land to feed. An endless need. It's an endless need. An endless need. It's an endless need. Nobody here wants your war. Thousands will die, maybe many more. The ghosts will find you knocking on your door. Nobody here wants your war. More money, more death, more greed makes the children bleed. More oil, more land to feed. It's an endless need. Endless need. It's an endless need. Endless need. Nobody here wants your war. Schoolhouses burn and the tickers run. Who were they to you? Nothing more. But they were somebody's daughter and somebody's son. More money, more death, more greed makes the children bleed. More oil, more land to feed. An endless need. More money,